3, 2. Oh my God.
Yo, what's up?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the program.
The Airtime Podcast is presented by Van Shoes since 1966.
There's nothing fake about it. Have something to believe in and be yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. For this week's episode, we have an absolute legend in snowboarding. It is an absolute privilege to have this individual on the show. One of the few backcountry snowboarders that I didn't skip their part. I actually would watch it to the end. Somebody's style that I tried to replicate. In fact, his whole crew, I think, redefined what good jump style is and was. He's had almost a 30-year career, probably 30 plus, maybe just under, still doing it. We had a quick walk here, and he says he's feeling better than ever. The co-founder of YES Snowboards. We'll get into the, what's going on with that lately. We got the one and only DCP on the podcast. How you doing, boss?
I'm great, Jody. Thanks for having me here. Well, thank you.
Hell yeah.
Good introduction.
Oh, man. I say this all the time, but when you do your homework for a guest and you get to watch all their old parts, it's rare where you set aside time to watch an old video, let alone watch every single one of your parts that I could find. Like, I think I found 15 of them. I know that you filmed like 30, but like off the top of my head, I found probably 15 video parts, watched them, and I was in awe. By the last part that I watched of you, I got chills just thinking about how much you've contributed to snowboarding, how you've shaped the landscape. Like, definitely somebody who deserves a lot of flowers, not just from me, but from the whole snowboard industry. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Huge fan.
Well, that's very nice to hear about that. I'm very grateful for that opportunity I had in snowboarding and being in that position. But also, like, it's funny to say because I feel like I've been inspired by you and your crew, like in recent years, since Man Boys in the last 10 years, keeps me going, it keeps me going because, like, at some point it's like, oh, okay, like we've done it a lot, and then it's like the new blood, and it's like, oh, the new blood is in there, and like, yeah, so I think it's a circle, inspiration, inspiring, and inspired,
I feel like when you're on the tail end of your career and the new generation steps in, there's almost like, at least this was for me, I was like, these kids are riding different than me, and this is kind of annoying, and I don't really fuck with it. Not actually, but that's just me being like, trying to deep dive into it. When people started wearing like the pants over the boots and things like that, I just found myself like, I can't fuck with this dude. He's riding all weird. And when we came out, when our generation would have come out, you would have been riding the park and looking at people like myself and whoever, my crew, Jeeves and stuff, and we're wearing tall tees, bandanas, like our outfits must have been comical for your generation that grew up just before us. Like, what the fuck are these kids wearing? Was that in your head at one point? Were you like, what are these dudes doing?
Honestly, it was like, not really. Like, whatever people want to wear, it was their style, their thing. I just knew that I was stoked to see, people getting excited, and I could feel what they were feeling. I was like, they're doing it, and they're living the lifestyle that they're following their passion, and they're sending it. And so I was very stoked. Like, for me, it's like freestyle is freestyle, it's like whatever is your style, you're free to have it. Although I'd say like the tight pants over the boots, at some point I was like, that's not for me. You'd be you. I'm never going to ride with jeans and powder because I love riding powder. But then again, I never really got into street riding that much, but I respect everybody that came up with any type of style. For me, it was more practical though. Like, I was living in Whistler. It's kind of snowy and wet, and if you didn't have like a good jacket and good pants, and and you will get wet, and then you just end up riding less, right? So
To touch on style, your crew, to me and many, shaped and redefined what style is in snowboarding, especially when it comes to pipe riding, backcountry riding. That whole crew, we'll touch on it a little bit later, but I think what most people would be excited to hear is YES Snowboards that you started with Roman, JP Solberg. Was Tadashi at the beginning too?
Originally, it was the three of us. That was right after 2008 when we all were fired by Burton or let go of in the switch of things. And Roman had this relationship with the Nideker, and so he got me and JP involved. So we started that with this other guy, Jim, who was just a designer in Geneva. And that was... Then Tadashi came later on when we all lived here in Whistler doing the first few movies. And then Tadashi was invited to join the crew. And Tadashi stayed with us for a little while until Sims offered him a wicked deal he couldn't turn around or turn down. So it was like, okay, thank you so much. And I mean, Tadashi is just insane. So,
I mean, you've had some of the best snowboarders start with YES and then move past that, which I think a lot of companies that are, new and they don't have that same, maybe money, maybe the support, maybe opportunity, but you have someone like Austin Sweeten who was blossoming with YES and then moved over to Lib. You had Frank April for a bit who went over to Arbor. So you guys have helped develop and put on the map some of the best snowboarders. Not to say that those individuals weren't already on the map, but the way I would look at it is anybody under the umbrella of YES at that time was getting a stamp by 3 of the best or 4 of the best snowboarders to ever do it, which means something, or did to me anyway.
That's cool to hear that from your perspective, because I've always thought that it was a very big privilege to have had those guys ride for YES, and that we did everything we could to help them with opportunities, providing them with the gear and having them involved in the development of the gear for what they wanted, and including them in movie projects. And it was always it was hard when they decided to leave to go elsewhere, but at the same time it was rewarding, because we're like, wow, those big brands are they're picking them up, you know what I mean? And I was like, all right, well, we helped them, or maybe we just provided them support when they needed it, and then keep on going, keep on shredding. And then I grew some friendship with those guys as well while we were all doing that. So all in all, I think it was all a positive experience, and I'm glad you're pointing that out, because I always felt very lucky that we were able to support such amazing humans and riders.
Oh, those 2 individuals are definitely students of the game. So Frank and Austin, if I may speak on your behalf, I'm imagining they were huge fans of the 3 of you, Roman, JP, and yourself. And yeah, you guys start a company, and then, you're going through, for Austin, he gets let go by Forum. Someone comes knocking on his door, and it's 3 of the greatest snowboarders ever. Like, yo, we think you're fucking sick. And then Austin straps in and he does that. I'll never forget the first year he was riding for YES. He hit that behemoth jump in Absinthe, follow cam by the heli. It's 100-foot jump. He front 3s it and cab 5s it. Dude, I was like, oh, this kid is not done yet.
Oh, yeah.
But when you get let go, to further elaborate on that, and you, I feel like, have been in this position before, when you're somebody like Austin and you're on a forum and you get let go and you still have plenty of fuel in the tank and a brand lets you go, you're like, you think I'm fucking done yet? When you 3 get let go by Burton and you guys are like, you think we're done yet? You want to see a JP back 10 double?
Yeah, exactly. That's just his motivation. It's fuel on the fire. It's yes, we can. No, we're not done. Yes, we can do this, and yes, we will. And
is that was that what the the logo was, or the brand stood by? Like,
Yeah, I mean, 2008 was the year where, Obama had that campaign, Yes We Can. But at the same time, it was like, we're like, hey, Rome, like this brand or that brand, can we ride for you guys? Like, no, we don't have budget. No. And then at some point, Ramen is like, let's just start our own. Yes, we can. And then it was like, kind of like, then we had a brainstorm. What are we going to call this brand? And it all came back to this. It was like, it started with, yes, we can do it. We're not done. And then it was like, yes. Let's call it Yes. Why not? So it was like, that's kind of how it went down.
all right, let's carry this over to the merger of the century. So there's Yes, Now, Lobster, Jones, Flow, America, Etnies, S, 32 Battalion, Rome, and Switchback, all under Nidecker.
Right.
That's wild. Are you excited about the merge? Is this something that,
So, I mean, so Nidecker is the big umbrella, if we're going to talk like that. The actual merge here is Yes with Now Bindings and Lobster. So this becomes Yes.
Okay.
Right? So those are the three. I don't know what the other people doing. But for us, yeah, it's exciting. It's the whole thing with going from Yes with Now was I feel like because with JF and us and the relationship and maybe a brand needing more than just boards and bindings was always part of that family. That was almost like a must. And then the opportunity to then merge Lobster, because Lobster was also owned by, they were under the umbrella of Nidecker. And so when that was proposed, obviously Aldo and Aki Augustin, those guys, and Fridge, and those guys are the other generation after me, but they're also guys that I've looked up to. That I was like, wow, those guys are doing it. They're making it very fun, and they're insane snowboarders. And I know that they grew up as well with us, kind of they're looking up to Ramen and JP. And, I was in Iceland, and I think it was 2001 or something. And I guess I was the first North American snowboarder to do a Transworld story there. And that's what he told me recently. And then there was a picture of me at their local resort. And anyways, funny things yeah. So that, I think it's very, very exciting. It's the changing of the guard, Ramen, JP, and I don't have any much day-to-day anymore with the brand, but we're ambassadors, we're supported with consultant, we're in there. And at the same time, it's time for me to just trust the new process and the merge, that it's full changing of the guards, right? We got a full new team. Well, there's a few that still are, but there's younger team, very freestyle oriented. I think that, there's going to be movies every year, and it's kind of back to almost the early good days of Yes, when we did our movies and stuff. And so, yeah, I'm super stoked on that. And especially that there's a lot of new energy and blood in the brand, and everybody's just got super motivated to push it, to push them. And for me, is again, kind of with Austin and Frank earlier in the Yes years, where it was okay, we got those guys and they're in the upcoming or established, but they're doing that. Well, now that the new team, there's pretty established, but there's also some of the crew that are now we just recently have Pat Fava joining the team. And that's really exciting as well, because it's this guy's, I've been a huge fan over the last 2-3 years. And so for all of those people to be under Yes, I feel very proud that Ramen, JP, and I took Yes for the last 15 years to where it is now. And I'm very excited for the future, that Yes, the potential that it has to grow and keep supporting snowboarders and the snowboarding community and the progression of the sport, you know.
First off, congratulations for what you guys have accomplished. Yes, we can.
Thank you.
And yes, Pat and I believe it's Joey Fava, 2 different individuals, brothers, but I love those two. You can definitely see that they took a lot of early influence from Chris Bradshaw, Justin Benny, Dead Lung. Really like the way those kids snowboard. And to touch on another point that you had brought up, the picture at the local hill, before I go into the other thing I was going to say, the picture at the local hill I think is often overlooked. Because we grew up in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of North America at the smallest hill on Earth. There's one tree on it, in a floodway ditch, you know, absolute, I don't even know how, it's a rope tow, it's so small. But there was one photo that an Oakley rep for that area dropped off and put up on the wall, and it was of Nicholas Mueller, and I stared at that photo for 12 years, idolizing. He was doing like a McTwist, and he's wearing this all tan kit. It's on like a super small slushy quarter pipe, and I'll never forget that image. And then for you to bring up that the Helgesons are like, or whoever was like looking at this photo of you at their local resort, like if I was a brand, I'd be like, dude, we got to get our photos at a fucking, those random small resorts.
Right.
Like, just drop off a fucking poster. I might even do that now. Like, just print a photo of myself, go back to Winnipeg and put it on the wall. It's just so kids can be like, damn, that guy's kind of sick. Because they don't know. They need guidance. It's like their introduction before looking at a magazine or a video might just be that photo of like, whoa, that looks super interesting. Like,
Right.
I'm riding a snowboard right now, but I'm not doing tricks. But like, that could be me one day. Like, look at that guy. Anyways, interesting perspective. But secondly, so if I can make this clear for our listeners, so now, Yes and Lobster were already all under the umbrella of Nidecker, and now they just have merged, correct?
Absolutely. Now it became YES Snowboards.
Okay. So now is it hashtag Yes to keep the Lobster incorporated? Is that correct?
So that's just the logo, but the brand name is YES Snowboards.
Okay.
And yeah, we have the hashtag, and it's redesigned some, you know, hashtag Yes. We used to have Yes dot, and that was Yes period, right? That was always kind of our branding. And the merge, the change is that now it's like, it's spelled hashtag Yes. But it's not like the name is not hashtag Yes or whatever. It's YES Snowboards.
And you guys did some sort of party in Reno, it looked like?
So we had
Let's hear about that. Come on.
So we
That
had
crew getting together looked all time.
I mean, like as you know, like, and maybe some of the listeners might not know all that, but like in snowboarding, we always look into the future in some way, you know, like snowboarders are riding boards during the winter that are going to be sold in the next September, you know, and we are selling our board line to reps early on. We designed almost a year ahead of time. So we were hosting the sales meeting of YES Snowboards, the new YES Snowboards. And so that was before the end consumer and like anybody knew about it. So we had everybody come and join. The Algesons, JF, Raman, JP, we're all in Reno. We're hosting a meeting. So we're showing the new line and telling them about the merge that's about to happen. And that was last October. And now a year later, it's just coming into play, right? So yeah, we had a good party, and it was like with all of our reps, and we invited a bunch of people to a concert and a reveal, you know. We had actually Dave Hatchett's band playing. It was epic. They were rocking out. And then we had like, they actually showed the Lobster movie, We're Loser 2 that night. And it was very fun. That was their release party there. And yeah, I mean, like all of our crew at YES is all there for fun, and everybody likes to send it and party. So that was a good one. And then they had us we created a like Reno Vegas style wedding. So we went to the chapel, and we just went to the thrift store, bought some outfits, and got in the limo and just went for a shotgun wedding, just like to wed or merge Lobster, Yes, and Now, with all of us. It was just like funny stuff, That was our concept. I thought it was pretty funny.
Sounds like an old marketing campaign. You know what I mean? It does sound like an old ad from like 2003 or whatever. That would be the opening sequence in like a Trans World thing or whatever.
Totally.
Super cool.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe because you were a part of that whole journey, there's lots of people here that are starting out in life, maybe making a snowboard brand, maybe building their own personal brand. Do you have any advice for snowboard entrepreneurs, people that are just starting out, building their own brand?
Yeah, good question. Well, I feel like at the end of the day, it all comes from your heart, like whatever you start, whether it's a brand or a brand for yourself, or if you want to pursue professional snowboarding or start a brand, as long as it comes from your heart and comes from passion, and you're doing that primarily because you love it and because it gives you good feelings, and this is what you're focused on, then it should be successful. I think for me, like in business, like the moment that you're thinking too hard about the outcome, obviously you want to have a good business plan and be able to like get the money and the founders and the investors, and it needs to be a solid plan. But also, even when you pitch your idea to people, if it comes from your passion, then that's the right frequency or the right vibe that you're putting out. As long as it's genuine and that's exactly what you want to do, it's going to work out. So that's the number one advice I would say. It's just like the same as like pursuing a snowboarding career. If all you think about is like, I want to make money, I want to be able to do this, I want to be popular, I want to be famous, I want to do that, then maybe you'll get there as well. But the intention should be, I want to progress, I want to have fun, I want to inspire, I want to be with friends, I want to, I do this because I love it, like. And also another advice is like, for any of those type of projects, you can't just be waiting to eat. You got to be hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're hungry for something, shit's going to happen. If you're just waiting to eat, then, it's like waiting for somebody to serve you food. Yeah, you won't go hungry, but like it's not the same. You want that extra, right? And so whether it's a glove company, a goggle, a snowboard, or like a camp, or like whatever, or a podcast, like do it with art, passion, and I think that's the advice.
Really good advice. Just recorded an episode with Hayden Wrench, and he was speaking on that. When you do something for the money, I feel like you two have, you guys are on the same frequency with this. It's so evident, and I don't think that the new generation is buying into that. And there's definitely a more lasting brand, a more lasting impact when you do it from some place other than the money. When you do it for the purpose of like, I really believe in YES. I really believe in airtime, or whatever your product is and your brand is. I think that that's transparent with most people, and they can read into that. And that's when people actually like really like your brand, is that they can buy into it because they believe the story. But when you're just doing it for a cash grab, I think most people can see that, and then they're like,
yeah, they
fuck
can,
you.
They can feel it.
They can feel it.
See it maybe, but they feel that, know. And it's the thing is like, you're gonna stay genuine in that intention, and it sounds like kind of cliche a little bit, but like truly, like it's you gotta do it from your heart. It's passion. All of it is passion driven, and especially snowboarding. You know, like, why did you start snowboarding? Why are you here? You know, and at the end of the day, it's like a lot of those brands and a lot of the those projects, you know, if it is to give a service, you know, kind of like, hey, we're doing that to inspire, to produce the best product possible so that people can have a better experience, or like, I'm providing this service so that like the new generation of snowboarders know about the history of snowboarding. You know, like it's a service for the community of snowboarding, created from your heart. You know, then it's working, because at the end of the day, it's like you gotta give to get, and not just as like, oh, I'm gonna give so I can get. It's more like I'm gonna give, but I'm not gonna expect to receive. And then it's like, all right, just keep on giving, and it's all, the success is gonna be coming. You know, that's kind of like that mindset in a way, like that I'm trying to live by, but also it's like it comes natural. It's like that's kind of like how magic happens in my book.
I really like that. Give with no expectation. Period.
Yeah.
Like, do the dishes because they need to get done. Like, I've heard this before in like relationship podcasts. Like, to do something for your partner but not expect a return on it. Just do it because it's kind to do that thing, but not expect like, you know, if I cook dinner tonight and I do this, then maybe tomorrow they're gonna, I don't know, cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner and buy all the groceries or whatever. I think that's a good way to just move through life, is just to do kind things for others and don't expect anything. But what happens, you get it back anyway, because it comes full circle. It always does.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're somebody that always gives and you're a kind, genuine soul, yeah, maybe there'll be a fucking rough patch where nobody's fucking giving you anything and you feel like I'm just giving and not getting. And then one time it'll come all fucking rushing back your way if you just keep on the fucking path.
Yeah,
It
totally.
always comes back.
Yeah, that's life, you know, like life is not always easy.
Hell no, brother.
You know?
This shit's fucking nuts.
It's not always easy, and it's like emotions are coming up,
Yeah.
all the emotions, you know, and it's fine. We're humans, like we're allowed to experience all those emotions. And like I like surfing, so I have a good analogy for that. Is like, you can't stop, like emotions are like the swell. You can't stop the swell from coming, but you can decide which wave to surf and how to surf it. So when things happen in life, is like, oh shit, I could react that way, or I could just be blissful into that ride, or just I can let that set go. I don't need to partake in that wave. I don't want that wave, right? Or you can just drop it into a closeout and get worked, but you'll still come up. Eventually you'll come up and you have learned something. Don't drop in on the closeout, right? So it's like life is learning. And to go back to your question, like, what's the advice? Is like, just use all of these experiences as learning. That's why we're on Earth. We're here to learn. Snowboarding is a huge teacher for life, I find.
What has snowboarding taught you?
So much. Snowboarding has taught me to be in the moment. First and foremost, it taught me humility, because as soon as you feel like you know it all and, you know, the mountains, or, you know, it just slaps you back. It taught me a sense of belonging, be part of a community, be part of a movement, be part of this beautiful, you know, lifestyle. It also taught me how to act around my, you know, friends, but also support people, like sponsors. It's like snowboarding taught me a lot about business, actually, and a lot about life, because it taught me to never burn a bridge. If you can avoid that, it's good. You never know. You never know. One day you're riding with somebody, and then you just like, you know, you could have been frustrated with them because they landed the first trick or whatever. I'm just taking an example. Next thing you know, that you're team manager, you know, or next thing you know, they're signing your checks because they're your sponsor or whatever. Or, you know, that's just one small example, you know, like, again, it's not like doing something with an expectation, but like you said, it's like, it taught me that you should just be always kind to anybody, to be inclusive to everyone. It doesn't matter. You know, you're there for the same reason. We're all part of the same thing. Whether you have the tight boots and the tight pants, the long tees, the do-rag, or the Gore-Tex or whatever, like, we're part of this all together. And so it taught me that. It taught me unity. It taught me, like, you know, much more than that too. But like, those could be what comes to my mind now.
Kill them with kindness. It always works. Well, before you learnt to snowboard, there was a different time for David. A young David was, you know, getting behind the wheel. Started off with a crew, the 418 crew, I believe.
Yeah.
We got a Patreon question here from Lane Knack. Huge fan.
Yeah, Lane.
Always really liked that individual's parts in the old grenade videos. Yeah, I don't know. Huge fan. Lane Knack, big fan. Can you please shed some light on the 418 crew? What was it? Who was in it? How did you guys get so good at stunting in a ditch? The kids need to know. Much love.
Oh, right on, Lane. Yeah, big fan of him too. He was a good friend back then. We traveled, competed against each other, and you know, partake to some very fun events in California and in Vermont and around those parts. 418 crew is originally, it's an area code. 418 is the area code of Quebec City, Chicoutimi, Rimouski. It's all East Coast Canada. That's all where we're from. So it started with Emmanuel Krebs. Emmanuel Krebs, who's like one of the first Quebec snowboarders to make it pro. He also was a big influence in snowboarding, skateboarding in Quebec. He owned La Boutique du Skate, which was like the first place where they sold snowboards in Quebec. He was a designer for Limited. He went through the whole spectrum in snowboarding before we got started even. So he was like a mentor. Emmanuel was from Quebec City, so 418 area code. And so when we started snowboarding, there was not a lot of halfpipe where we were from. We had to drive to Vermont, to Stratton or Killington, to go ride that. And that's where also the competition were held, and in halfpipe. So that's what we could do to compete, and that's what we could do to try making a name for ourselves or get attention from potential sponsors, or if we wanted to pursue that as you know, go further than the local hill, right? It was allowing us to travel with friends, have fun. And so 418 crew started through Emmanuel Krebs, through riding halfpipe, and through our desire to get better. And because we grew up where there was none of that, except Montcalm in Rimouski had one and dug halfpipe, but you had to go there 2 days before the event and dig it with everyone, so that we could compete in a pipe. And so through all of this early years of competing, that was 1994 probably, in 94, 95, Mount Saint Anne had a pipe. They were hosting a World Cup, and we kind of all met around these times. And it was a few guys from Chicoutimi. It was David Aubry and myself, Sylvain Rowe, Etienne Tremblay. And then from Rimouski was Yann Roy, Guy Deschênes. In Quebec City, there was Guillaume Morissette, Guillaume Brochu, Emmanuel Krebs. I think it was like kind of like the original guys. JF Giasson was also part of the crew, and he was from Rimouski as well. And so yeah, we all started competing in Quebec, and then JF Pelcha was not part of the 418 crew, but he was already a pro in Whistler, and he was already he was riding with Emmanuel, and Nick Dignard was also part of that, and those guys were super inspiring to us. So we all decided to move to Whistler in '96, summer '96, because there was summer pipes, and that's when we really were just as a crew hiking, jumping, going higher, to just get one hit or first hit just as fast as we can. That's all we were about, and when we first moved out west or started to come during the West Beach Classic week, and we extended our stay and just were wanting to just ride pipe because we didn't have them back home. So we came to Blackcomb whoa, look at this pipe. I think we kind of shocked a few of the guys because they were, the mountain's so good right here. You're riding, you're free riding, you go through the pipe, but we were so hungry for it that we would hike it all day long and try to go as big as we can. And people are like, what the hell? What are those guys doing? And we were a crew of 10 guys. So we're just pushing each other. Etienne Tremblay was always the guy going the biggest. So we're we're going to go bigger than that guy. What's up with that guy? Maybe it was the tune, or I don't know. It's just we're just so always one-upping. So that was the base of 418 crew was we wanted to push each other. We were tight friends, progression. We wanted to learn. We wanted to travel together and party together. And that was what it's all about back then. And then we started in 1999, the 418 camp at Bromridge. That was Yann Roy and us. We end-dug half-pipe with, following what Alan Clark did with Superpipe. That was the same year, and then we had the opportunity to work with those guys and brought in the 418 camp, which was funny because we were still 17 years old and just starting our career. But Emmanuel and Yann were hey, we got to give back. And we're well, we're just getting started. But then they're but it's fine. You'll get to learn too. And anyways, we're doing this camp and you guys are going to coach. And we're all right, sounds good. So we're we started that as coaches with the 418 camp and brought in, people signed up. And earlier, Frank April was a camper, Louis was a camper, Phil Jacques was a camper. All those boys from Quebec in that other generation came to 418 camp. And we had them at Brom, but we had them in Quebec and all over. So then that was 418 was about, community and about friendship and pushing each other progression. And so that's the crew.
A couple things there. First thing, Etienne Tremblay, huge inspo for me. I don't think he was my coach when I went to Camp of Champions, but he was definitely somebody that I took notice, really liked him, cool guy. I looked up to him. He was always super nice to me. Great style. I remember him, Mike Page, and Chris Duffy were kind of the guys that were standout pros that were ripping at the session that I was at. And actually Etienne Tremblay and I believe it was Duff took me for sushi for the first time. Dude, I'm from Oakbank. It's 1,000 people there. Took me to sushi. I was what the fuck is sushi, dude? They did the whole wasabi joke and shit. Anyway, big shout out to Etienne Tremblay. I was a big fan. And then that camp that you're talking about, the 418 camp and Superpipe camp, that put a lot of people on the map, kind of. Snowboarder Mag filmed 1999 there, or a big section of it was there. And there was people like Rube and Chris Brown, Trevor Andrew. A lot of those people kind of got I think they got a lot of important exposure at an important time in their careers. It all elevated everybody. There's some Dano photos that I remember of Browner doing an air to fakie. I think Trevor Andrew perfected the McTwist there. I think he did about 1 billion.
yeah. Well, so in the Mouse movie, in 1999, when Trevor goes this massive McTwist on the quarter pipe, It was after 418 camp, and they had pushed the walls that we had shaped to the bottom to create this quarter pipe. So I think it was all like teamwork in a way, because it went super pipe, then we redigged everything for 418 camp, and then they're like, we're gonna use your snow and we're gonna be doing this. Like, perfect. So it's like you said, it's like all like part of the progression. 1999 was a big year.
Let's talk about some of the standouts then that were up there. I mentioned a couple, but I'm assuming that, you know, if you were there for the whole summer, you probably saw some people like go from A to B. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of people at summer camp go from being a good snowboarder and then camp ends and then they kind of unlock a new level of talent.
Well, Kel Stevens was there killing it, like doing those backside rodeos, alley oops of because we had like a pipe wall with a bank, so it was allowing a little bit of room, you know, to like progress and do tricks. Mikey Rance was there, was young, and he was already there doing some good stuff. He was so he was up and coming then. Alan Clark, I mean, Al Clark and even Johan Olofsson was up there. That was sick. Definitely, like, Trevor was a big standout, you know, at that time. He was a big star of the 1999 film and huge McTwist. I was out there filming with the Treetop guys, and so we had to build this gap over the pipe, over the bottom of the pipe, and that was also pretty sweet. And then we were like riding around with like the first GoPro helmet cams, but they were like full helmets with like a 16 millimeter on there with the battery pack in the backpack. It was so heavy. And we're out there like shredding pipe with that. And like, it was pretty sweet. I think Michael Chuck came up that summer as well for a little bit. Oh, Daniel Mignot was also part of the 418 crew. Remember him?
Dan Mignot.
So Dan Mignot and I first went up with David Aubry, Dan Mignot, Gabotier was also part of it. The four of us got a ride in the back of Kel's pickup and from Black Tusk, and he rallied up the Bromridge Road all the way to the cabin, and we're barely holding on. We didn't know he was going up there for a week. We didn't bring food. So we're just like rolling in the back of his pickup with our snowboard boots and our snowboard. And we show up there, and they're like, all right. And they all have snowmobiles, so they're going there, like, meet you at the pipe, boys. We're like, what? Where is it? Just hike this way. We're hiking there. We have no food, so we end up like stealing some of their food to stay the week, you know, and like, so we started like to become friends with those guys, because before 418 camp, we were digging for super pipe. And it was pretty awesome. It was just like Mikey Orr was up there, I remember too, and like that was a time. It was like very grateful to have been part of that era, because I feel like that's when pipe went from 14 foot to 17 or 12 to 17, and it was Endog, and then they came up with the super pipe dragon, right? So that was the beginning of like the big pipe progression.
The super pipe dragon must have been insane when that first came out. If you were a pipe rider, you're like, what?
Oh yeah,
we don't gotta dig anymore. It's like, nah.
Yeah, because like it was like, you know, 7 days of digging to get these pipes, and it was like an assembly line. It was like one's on the vert and the other guy's got a longer shovel, and then the other guy and longer shovel, and then we're chain ganging at the bottom, like taking all the snow
but like there's
out.
gonna be like let's say if the Ben Baluck crew, and what I mean by that is the all-star digging crew is working on the left wall and the shitty crew is on the right wall. You're like, dude, your wall's so kinked. You guys
And it's
suck.
different, exactly. And then it's summer, right? So then it's sunny, and so you have to salt it, and then every morning patch the hole on the vert with more snow and salt it, and we're covering it up with some tarps, you know, so it doesn't melt out. So yeah, when the super pipe dragon came up and they had this perfect cuts, it was like, we're on, let's go.
Let's touch on Super Park. I know that you would have attended a few of these back in the day. I think like Super Pipe Camp, massive for Canada. Super Park is kind of like, I don't know, it was the mecca for all super pros to attend. Most notable, Travis Rice got his big start at Super Park. Who are some of the standouts when you were attending? Because that was kind of like a bunch of young teenage dudes, mainly guys, being like big dick swinging like, I'll hit the 100-foot jump.
Kurt Westell, standout of all time. Like, I mean, 1999 was the first Super Park I was invited to go. We all went. The whole 418 crew went. And me and Mingyo traveled together there. And yeah, it was the biggest jump that we've ever seen. And Westell just went for it. I don't even think he speed checked it. He just like showed up and just back-treed it, just sent it. And I think that was like, okay, next level. We got to step it up. And they had some very nice quarter pipes. We had a sick pipe. I remember being there with Dano and shooting and being very motivated because like I had seen Brett Carpentier in 1998 Olympic throwing some back nine, and I was like, I need to learn that. And I learned it at Super Park 1999. So that's when I first started doing that trick, and I was so stoked. Dano was like, come on, you got this. I'm taking a sequence. Like, perfect, let's do it. Yeah.
I mean, watching somebody Guinea of Jump that size. What was the name of that jump that Kurt hit?
That I can't tell.
The
But
Megalodon or whatever.
it was in the middle of the mountain, and you had to start from the top of the mountain.
I couldn't
I
imagine.
don't think anybody else did it. I think he's the only one who shut it down. It's just like, meow, like, and he didn't come short. He went deep too. That was big.
I remember at the time, those shots really standing out. And growing up watching videos, like the start would have been like 98 for me. And then you were part of the generation that really started being like, I mean, 2000, the level of progression, rails, everything got so crazy. It's like people started going massive, like really like Super Park jumps. People are starting to do 9s and 10s on them. And dude, those jumps are not like they are built today. They're not built by Charles Beckinsale with a safety knuckle. It's like if you deck a jump from your generation, you are done.
Yeah.
Massive step down jump. Like the West Beach Classic jump. Like you come up a board length short on that. Like, ooh.
That was nuts. Yeah. And we had some very good opportunities to go to Norway at the end of the season every May in Amsterdam. And I know that there with the Robot Food crew and Absinthe, and they build those massive park jumps there. And it was some of those sessions where it was like 120 foot, or you had to go as fast as you can. Otherwise you're dead, you know? And it was awesome because everybody was in for it. And Roman was like, I'm going, fuck it. Back nine, just sending so hard. We're like, well, okay, all right, sweet. Like, he wasn't even speed checking too. He was just like, is it ready? I'm going. You know, just like, we need more speed. So we're building up extra speed, like piling up snow to get an extra board lane of like running. He's like, I almost came short. And then he's just overshooting. But it doesn't matter. It's like he inspired everybody. That was sick.
Was that the back nine in the camo kit?
Yeah.
That was an ad in a movie, wasn't it? A Burton ad?
Yeah, it was like a Burton commercial, but it was the same year where, Robot Food was there, Yussi was filming there,
Yeah.
Travis Parker, and like, and then Absinthe. Like, Justin was dangling from helicopter filming. Tristan was there doing big 180 without grab over the whole thing. That was pretty standout. Blind, no grab, floating 100 feet in the air next to a helicopter with Justin with his 16, like this close, like, and Tristan just like, boom. We're watching that live. We're like, okay, better step it up.
Would this have been in Transcendence? Like what shots?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was like 2000 or 2001 or like that time.
Yeah, that was those are some special moments there. I mean, the Roman camo pants back 9. I'm glad you brought that up because as a kid I was like, whoa, like this is how good you have to be. And like it seems so minuscule now talking about like a back 9 being like a big trick because kids do that warm up. Like now I ride the park all the time and a kid like Finn Finestone or whatever like that, or Truth Smith is doing a 9 or a 10 on their second run like it's a joke. And and they're going down. I'm like, whoa, you're going down? They're like, yeah, the jump kind of sucks today. I'm like, you just did a perfect front 10. They're like, yeah, it's not good. I'm going down or whatever. just for context about how good kids are. But when I was a kid, like a 900 was a huge deal, like massive. Like the West Beach Classic, you were winning that with like a really good switch 7 or like a 9.
Yeah. Bronner, I think he was doing some 6 switch like 7s, right? And he won it one year. Inverted cab 7s or something.
I believe it was the switchback 7, and he's still mad to this day that a Whirlybird cab 9 beat him.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. How do you take your riding to the next level? Or how did you take your riding to the next level? Because there seems to be, like, you got 1999 snowboarder, then some crazy ass shit happens. Like, you unlock kind of like God mode. Kinda. You film like 2 back-to-back closers. We'll go a bit more in depth in them in Back in Black, Chalk, Smack. But like, how do you unlock, or how did you unlock that next level in your snowboard ability?
I think that well, that's a very nice compliment. Thank you. At that time, it's like you don't really think that, you know, it's more like you're in this groove of progression and of flow where you know, you get more support, so you get to snowboard more and you get up more opportunities to go to places where the jumps are good and big, and you get to shoot with the right people. And so for me, it was like that invitation to Super Park, and then getting some pictures published there, leading me to be invited to the Burton photo shoot in Chile, and then riding with guys like Bernie Gucci and Dave Downing and like Terrier and guys like that I've looked up to, you know. And then it's like, oh, I'm with them, I'm riding. So it's like, okay, it's possible. So like, okay, keep going. And then having the opportunity to just like to go film with some of the people that I was already inspired with, you know, like the Kingpin production, all those guys. I was like, oh, those guys are the ones, you know. And then I was like, you're gonna film with them this year. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sounds good. And
yeah, I'll be there.
And then it's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then after that, it's like, how do you get to the next level? I think it's, you know, it's not, although snowboarding is an individual sport, it's not. It's kind of like, sometimes for me, it's like the team you're with. You know, it's the confidence that you get from maybe the filmer that you're working with. And because you know he's got your back. You know, you're throwing a snowball, he's going there. It's like, yeah, no, you need more speed than that. Or like, yeah, you're over the rocks, you're fine, go more left, go more right. It's that build of confidence that gets you like, all right, we're a team. He's going to capture what I'm going to throw down. If I fuck up, he's going to be there for me. Same for the people you choose or you get to ride and feel more comfortable with. For me, like, I think a huge part of doing that was to get the chance to film with Brad Kramer from Kingpin. I thought he was just an amazing human and like talented filmer. And then having one of my best friend at the time, Simon, who also filmed for Kingpin. He was given the job by Brad, and we were living together here. But also as far as the crew goes, like, one of my biggest influence and inspiration was to ride with Yussi. Like, I was so lucky to spend like, you know, multiple seasons just going, because he was so motivated and so was I. And so we were on the same vibe. And so we would wake up at 4 a.m. just ready to go. And like sunrise to sunset, day in, day out. Every time it's good, we're out there doing it. And we were like, all right, what are we going to do now? Like, we're going to go here. Okay, which jump? And we're looking at stuff. We're not like, oh, we're not going to do this jump that maybe has been done. Or like, we're looking more like, let's jump from here to here. Like, is it possible? Like, I don't know. Let's fucking do it. You know, it's like, we're here. And then they're like, okay, let's go to the top. Check it out. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like, yeah, I think so. You think? Yeah, let's do it. You know, it's like, it was that motivation. It's like, I remember one time, it's like Todd Richard was with us on the crew, and he's just like, I'm not jumping that. And we're like, we're jumping it. You know, it's just like, not like to disregard. It's like, we were on the same vibe. And I think when you find a crew that you on the same, you know, same path, and that's, you know, that's important. So I would say, how do you take it to the next level is like, pick the right people to go shred with. Somebody that you have a confidence with, that pushes you, and that also keep it safe in some way, you know, like, it's like, you want to know that if you're going to send it off of this thing and you fuck up, somebody's there to pick you up and not leaving you out there. Right. So, and nowadays, like, I feel like it's really cool that to see like all of the work that the film crews and people are putting together, like more like wilderness first aid classes and like awareness in terms of like avalanche safety and all of that, because it's so important. And now like that people are like making those connections, even the young generation, like, okay, this is what I need to get out there to take my snowboarding to the next level, take it to the backcountry. But I'm going to do it in a way where it's like, I'm going to live to another day. I'm going to be able to jump again the next day big. And I want to get bigger and bigger. Like, so yeah, big props to like, you know, Pat Moore and Baldface to put that together, and, you know, and also many more, like, people are doing that. And so yeah, crew is important.
Very, very, very well said. That was fucking dope. And yes, a huge shout outs to Pat Moore and Jeff Pinciero at Baldface for all that you do. Great humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yussi. I didn't know what big jumping was or what it felt like. I didn't have that. I only had rails. But we did have a jump, and I was like, whoa, our jump's 10 feet. Like, these jumps are massive, and he can spin all the ways. And I just started digesting the different ways of rotation, like switch backside and cab, and whoa, there's 4 different ways, and some are harder than others. Like, a cab 7 is a lot harder than a front 7. But when you're young, you're just starting to understand that. And as soon as I started to understand that, at like 15, Optograb comes out, and I see this guy named Yussi. I'm like, dude, this guy is insane. Like, he just seemed kind of better than everybody.
I mean, for me, like, his style was just always just so amazing. Like, I met him in 94 at the Junior World Championship in Ruka, Finland. I think he won it. He wasn't a pipe rider at that time, and he was already, like, throwing the sickest, like air to fakie to cab 7s and in his run, and we're just, and all, like, super square, and I was like, okay. And then, you know, yeah, like you said, like, he was already like riding also very good switch. He's like a goofy skateboarder and regular snowboarder.
Classic.
So like, I think by doing that, by being like that, he was comfortable going both ways already, right? And yeah, he was hungry. He wasn't waiting to eat. He was hungry, and he was hungry and dedicated to his career, but also to his family life at the same time, to his wife, to his girlfriend at the time. And he will just be here for like 4 or 5 days, 5 days a bluebird. He'll be flying to California to spend a weekend with his family, and then he'll be right back here the next blue window, and just never missed a beat. And I think that was also, I don't know, I think that made him who he was. Because he was like, when he was here, he meant business. He was not fucking around. Like, he was like, I'm here. I'm away from my people. I'm going to freaking send it. And I'm going to do all 9s on this jump. But I know that was what he was thinking. He never expressed that like verbally. but you could tell it was like, I'm here to rack up shots and learn and go big. And then I'm home to the beach, you know? And it's like, so yeah, Yussi was always just so good and creative. And
do you ever look back at those years with people like David Benedict, Travis Parker, Yussi, yourself, JP Solberg, Roman, like that whole group of what I would say is some of the best jumping that's ever been done to date. If you go watch those videos, that footage is fully timeless. It's none of those shots have gotten worse over the last 25 years. In fact, sometimes the jumping is declined in professional snowboarding. People like you and Yussi were throwing snowballs off cliffs. Like, is this possible? Like, do you ever wonder, like, do new people still think that, other than, like, you know, the Travis Rices, and, you know, there's a group, but it's a small group. It used to be like every pro, I feel like, shared that mentality that Yussi had about, like, progression, all the way to people that were riding rails like Scotty Whitlake. Like, just, is this fucking possible? I'm not trying to say that that's the route that I think that snowboarding needs to go in, but I am curious to know if you've ever thought, like, whoa, we kind of digressed in the backcountry or in jumping a little bit, because you guys hit some fucking beast shit.
Yeah, it was a good time. We were very lucky to be kind of like pioneering some of those spots and style of riding, you know. That was motivating. I don't know if it got worse. I would say like snowboarding now is as a lot of different aspects, like competition with coaching, airbags, and the air awareness is different, and people, like, because it's being judged on the rotation and all of that, less than maybe the style. So people go like triple cork and 1620s and all this, and it's like you don't really have time to grab and tweak. Some people do, but like a lot of people have gone to more rotation. They need to land those tricks where maybe when we were doing it, like at that time it was more like we were riding all the feeling, and like 1080s and 900s were like you had time in the air to grab and tweak and different stuff. And I mean, the jumps are still big and they're going. I just don't know. Yeah, I mean, it felt very good. I think we were all like, you know, and I'm looking at like Travis Parker, you know, he was very innovative in his like rodeos and all those tricks. Like, it was pretty impressive. Like, and Peter Line, like, nobody had done those tricks before. So now there's still new tricks being innovated. It's more like added a rotation or added a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And now the rewind is now the new thing. Like, so there's a lot of that. But I personally like to see a good 1080 or a good 900 or even a good 7 with more style than watching like 5 rotations and you can't really keep up. Like, that's just me. Like, I actually really enjoy watching women snowboarding these days because their progression is freaking amazing and it's still very stylish. You know, not to discredit anyone, but I would say the progression in women snowboarding right now is very awesome.
I agree. I mean, just two females that are stand out to me, Haley and Zoe. Super big fans of them, among a bunch of other females. Emma Crosby, another one in there. But I like what you were saying about like the innovation of those tricks being done by people like Peter. One thing that I've realized or have noticed in backcountry snowboarding is a lot of these contests come out there, and when they do a double backside, I don't know, whatever, 1080, it all seems slightly robotic because they've done it so much on a trampoline. Whereas when JP Solberg did his, there was like some uniqueness to his access because it was, you knew that he was just doing that trick on a jump, and he had never done it on a trampoline on repeat. And there's something about all of those people, like Peter, like JP Solberg, like when Travis Parker did the back rodeo 10 in Lame. Those tricks, they all had a uniqueness to them because they weren't perfected on a trampoline, I think. And I think there was a lot of beauty to that. Yeah, of course, they were the first time they had been done, so they were super exciting to watch. But I will say, when a contest rider comes out into the backcountry and does a double cork back 10 mute grab, and it just looks like they were on a trampoline for the last 14 years and they just did it, and it just brings no joy to my soul. But and there's a flavor that's like, I feel like that's lacking in a lot of the contest world. But some of the best contest riders do have great flavor. You know what I mean? I'm not discrediting people like McMorris and Red, and there's a group that definitely has the it factor. You know, you watch someone like Red front 7 tail off the mother, and you're like, yeah, okay, he knows what he's doing. Check mark. Like, some people have trouble taking style out of the contest world into the backcountry. They still look like a contest rider, and some people can juggle that. And your generation was a really good hybrid. I feel like a lot of the best contest riders would also ride in the backcountry, like Aero Edela or whoever, and they would excel in, like Yussi Oxenden, great example. I mean, I know you rode contest too, but like Gigi and stuff, like all those people were like learning tricks out there, and their accesses and the way they would do them would be like, they would read the terrain on the mountain and be like, Gigi would be like, this, I could like do a frontside roll off my edge here and like grab Indy. And it's like, he didn't learn that in a trampoline training facility. He's just like fucking like, I could flip forwards off this and grab mute and tweak it out all crazy and get into that pocket. Different approaches.
It was very inspiring, you know, like it was like, exactly. It was like very artistic, you know, like the blank canvas would show up, and it's like, that this trick didn't get done, or it hasn't been done on that type of feature. And then it was also like, hey, we want to hit a fresh track, you know, like, so it's like, what's the speed? What's the angle? Like, how do we build that jump to hit the perfect transition? Like, there was a lot of elements that made it like everybody, like the people that were doing, like Gigi, like Nico, you know, it's like, so, and then, you know, JP on that booter, like that was a big jump, you know, and he just threw this, like, you've never done it before. You're right.
Might be the best back 10 ever done.
Yeah, he was just like, he was feeling, I wasn't there that day, but you know, like him and Roman were just like, we're going to do doubles today. So Roman was trying the front side and JP was going backside. And it was just like, they had the helicopter there. They were motivated, fired up. And they were definitely like there to progress, and you know, they wanted to get, you know, Absinthe film the best movie of the year, and just they were there to collectively be part of that crew, so that the movie will be the best, you know. So they're like, I'm not doing a back 7. I've done many of those, 1080, and I'm corking it. You know,
but like the access on, I think of Mikey Rentz's on Perfect Jump too, his front 10 double that he has in like 2014. The access on it is just so different than what you see in a contest world, because it's never been practiced. And I think there's a lot of beauty. You're either going to understand what I'm saying or you're not, because some people are like, if you practice, that means you're the best at that trick. But there's also something exciting about when somebody doesn't do it, but they're in the moment, and then they just do it anyway, and there's so much beauty to that. I've heard Blake Paul speak on that, and I think it's so true. Like, you know, when you see somebody like, I don't know, Aero Niemela do that switchback 10 on Perfect Jump, or, I mean, you guys were pretty big on like the first 9s. Like Jeremy Jones had a great back 9 into POW back in the day. You had a great switchback 9. It's like, you didn't perfect these accesses into the trampoline foam pit, and I think there's some beauty in that. So I think rather than do 500 double cork back 10s into a foam pit, I mean, like, once you got a couple of them, maybe leave some flavor for the rest of us. I don't really know how to like close that. Either the audience is gonna be like, I know what he's saying, or like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, and just to bring it full circle is like you just mentioned, that's like when you're in the moment, like it's a lot of practice makes maybe perfection, but being in the moment makes magic, right? So like it's just
Thank you. That was perfect.
It's just like
that's what I was trying to say.
yeah, just like in life, right? Like was the advice at the beginnings, like be in the moment. And that's when the magic lays. It's like, the past already happened. The future is shaped by your present moment, moving into it. But it's like, when you're in the flow of things and you're out there on top of a jump and you're in it, then you can invent tricks, or you can land something out of style and out of the moment. And that's when not only do you see it, but like you were mentioning, you feel it. You're watching it and you feel like how it was. So I think there's that difference. It's like you're almost like you're watching the feeling of what it took to get that 1080 versus you're watching all the hard work it took to practice that trick.
Thank you for helping me close that, because I was like, I didn't know how to land the plane there. I was like, I don't know how to get my point across that like doing something for the first time that you've ever done it is really exciting, and it translates onto film well. I think if you don't do a trick a lot and then you do it for the first time, I think that there is something that translates on film and the audience can pick up on that. Like, damn, that guy probably doesn't do a lot of like front 9 tail grabs, but he did one and it was really fucking sick.
Yeah.
We got a question here from a Patreon member, Bo Bishop. Thank you so much to Bo and all the Patreon members for supporting the podcast. All your money goes towards new cameras, lenses, mics, paying for DCP's parking, stuff like that, snacks for the guests. So it doesn't go to me. Goes back into the podcast, and thank you so much. All right, now a question from my dog, Bo Bishop. Chalk Smack was the first video I ever owned. I probably watched it 1,000 times. When and how did you find out you got Ender in that video, and what did that mean to you at the time?
What up, Bo? Right on. Thank you for the question. It was a fun year, I gotta say. Again, like filming with Yussi and Ville most of the year that year, and just getting to film, actually starting with Sean Kearns, and then he was just not wanting to help building jumps with me, so I was alone a lot. So I was like, you know what, I'm just not gonna build jumps, I'm gonna hit everything naturally. So it kind of like helped me in a way. At first I was like, why isn't that helping build this cheese wedge? And then it turned out I was like, I don't need to build anything. So that was good. How did I find out I got Ender? I didn't. I was sitting in San Diego at the movie premiere, and I just was watching the film, and I was like, oh shit, do I have a part in there? It's coming to the end of the movie, and then here he goes. And it felt really good. I was very happy. Like that's always a little bit how it was back then. Like we would not be part of the editing process. We just film. It's all on 16. I never even saw any shots the whole year. And then we all get invited to go see the movie premieres in September at the ASR trade show, which usually did a surf trip out of it, sleep in a car. And then we all are there, and everybody's there, the whole industry, and then they show the movie, and then you're like, oh, I love that song. Oh, sick. Everybody's cheering on, and then boom, you get your part. You're like, shit. Oh, fuck, I made the last part. No way. So nobody had told me. Like, same for Back in Black, and just like all the parts, like I never knew what was going on. Some of the guys that were in the US, maybe closer to the editor, with Mike McIntyre and like maybe I think Jeremy Jones and JP were involved in the process more. But for me, I was just like, I was filming, and then I was off in the jungle like until September, and I was coming back, and I was like, oh shit, nice, I made it. Or like sometimes I was like, where's that trick? And it's like, and then it's like, oh well, you didn't film it, or it wasn't as good as you might have thought it was, or whatever. But like, it was never like, oh shit, they missed that or whatever. It was more like, I remember that. Did they not film that? Like, it was just like, because you always want to do better, even if it's like blending with the last bars. Like, what about that trick? It was funny. But thank you. Yeah, no, felt good, felt great.
I've often wondered that, and I'm glad you brought that up. I don't think I've ever touched on this on the podcast, but when you guys were filming 16 and those early years, if you weren't involved in the editing process, just think about how many clips that nobody's ever seen that now are probably amazing clips, but like maybe the filmer overlooked them, or maybe you already had a Cab 5 and they thought that Cab 5 was better than your other Cab 5. And if you're the filmer or the editor, you might actually pick the Cab 5 that shot better, but the other one has better style, and the rider would actually prefer that Cab 5 over the one that they used. Really interesting to see. Like, I would love to see like all the, like Justin Hosnick and, all of those people get together, Mackdawg, and put together like a throwaway movie of like all the clips they've never used. That would be sick. And they collaborate on it. Like
that'd be pretty cool.
Never seen before. Like Mark Frank footage, Jeremy Jones, JP, DCP, Freddie Calberman, Nico, like
that'd be sick.
all of that footage that nobody's ever seen.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Please make that movie.
It was like definitely a beautiful process, like, because everybody was doing their art, right? Their craft. Like, we were snowboarding, the filmer was filming, the editor, who was often one of the filmer, was editing, and everybody was kind of let at that, And it was like everybody was trusting each other that they were doing the best job that they can, and we were all working as a team. And then at the end, it was like, boom, here's the movie.
That's one thing. That's one element in snowboarding that's missing today that I really wish was still in That's one element in snowboarding I still wish was in snowboarding, was a Mackdawg movie or an Absinthe or a Standard, just for the greatest snowboarders on earth to still collaborate in a project. For sure, it's exciting when Burton makes a movie or Vans makes a movie, and I get that all of these brands want to have their branding throughout a whole entire movie. Burton's always made a Burton movie for that purpose, but I think it's exciting when you see videos like Destroyer and From With Love and Happy Hour of different people from all over the world get together, because they are the greatest. And there are a couple films that showcase the greatest snowboarders. There's not really one of those anymore. I would love to see there be like a film right now that's a group of the best snowboarders out. I think it would be refreshing at this point for like Mick Moe, who would go to AK, and mixed with like, I don't know, fucking Bryn Alexander, and just the newest Tommy Gesme. And it's like people who wouldn't normally film together have a video part together. Like a Tommy Gesme part being beside a Mark McMorris part would be so fucking sick. Like, God, I got good ideas. Call me.
Totally. Yeah. Any sponsors out there wanting to support Jody's producing?
Totally. I got duct tape on the drinks right now just because I'm like, I'm waiting for a beverage sponsor. So, we'll see.
There you go.
One thing that you touched on there is art. And I want to just give you some flowers on your attention to detail and style throughout your entire career. We're talking about Chalk Smack right now, so I'll speak on some tricks there. As the Bomb Hole did a great job of deep diving on Back in Black. If you haven't seen that, it's one of the best movies ever made, and David ends that. And there's an iconic shot of him actually right there doing a back 3 off the famous DCP cliff. In Chalk Smack, you have a frontside 180, which is one of my favorite clips ever. It's just off a poppy jump, and right when you're at the apex, you grab Melon and you tweak it like... Is there a photo of that front 180 Melon? Because it could be the best front 180 Melon photo of all time. Your basic... I tried to replicate that every year. Filming a frontside 180 Melon, that's big in the backcountry. Believe it or not, is very hard. And you also have a Cab 7 in that part on a huge park jump. and the indie bone on that, as well as like you have a back 5 to, I don't know, something else like a cab 3 on that like behemoth double jump line. You're like, holy fuck. Anyways, I just wanted to shed some light on your style, because if you are a snowboard fanatic and you are into jumping and you are wondering where to draw inspiration for your jump style because you're young or maybe your jump style sucks, watch all of DCP's old footage. And that's how you should grab your board and tweak when rotating. In my advice. Or any of the uninked crew. Like, you guys must have like watched your footage every year and be like, damn, we're pretty good. Like, that switchback 7 was pretty good. And Roman's like, yeah, that was pretty good. And JP's like, that's pretty good. You see mine this year? And you guys were all like, damn, we're good.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it never went down like that. But I think silently we were like inspired by each other. You know, like we were on trips in the fall, and you know, brainstorming sessions, like lots of partying. That crew was a big party crew. It was so fun. And yeah, when we got together to shred, I think it was just like we were all different personalities and all different styles, and I think we fed it with each other. Yeah, when I watched Gigi ride, like I always was just like, oh yeah, you know, like in the is Burton Destroyer in that Kingpin movie, on the 7 board, and that's when he was still super young, and he spent the winter in California and filmed that whole thing like in a month or something. It was pretty impressive, and I was really stoked to see that. And then I was kind of like, that was right before Unink, and you know, when we were introduced to like do this project together with Jeffy Anderson and us four, like I was just like, okay, I'm honored to be part of that crew. And that's, you know, another thing where, you know, you were asking earlier, like, how do you take it to the next level? And it's like the crew you're with, that inclusion in that crew from Burton at that time, for me, was like super motivating. I was like, all right, I gotta like do good for myself, but I'm part of a crew, so I'm gonna like push it. So it was like kind of like 418 crew that was like that, pushing some of my progression. Being part of the Unink crew, you know, did the rest. And then the filming crew, I was part of, Yussi and those guys.
Yeah, like there's a vibration and a frequency that you would pick up on if you're a part of the Unink crew. You're like, we are the best, and we're here to like all work hard. And like you would all feed off each other, like you were saying, and it was pretty evident because every year for a huge span, like I think you were on Burton for 15 plus years, like there was when you're a part of a crew like that, even just Burton in general, there's an expectation, but what exceeds the expectation is what the riders that are around you will provide, you know, and that's you're inspired by all the people that are around you. You're like, whoa, I'm on a trip with Nicholas Mueller and Gigi, and then I'm on a trip with JP Solberg and Roman, and then I'm on a trip with whoever, Sean White and Heikki Sorsa, and you're like, whoa, these people are all so inspiring. Like, I want to hang, I want to do the best I can do so I can remain on this team and get paid. How much money did Burton pay? What was a Burton contract like? Is it long enough since that time frame where we can talk about it?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know, but it was, you know, I think we never talked. We were told, don't talk about your contract. Like, I don't think any of us shared together what it was.
Did that work out for snowboarding DCP?
I mean,
look at where we're at.
Yeah.
People are getting paid nothing now. We're getting paid in t-shirts.
We were lucky to be in that era. I'll say that. And I was also introduced by Michael Chuck to an agent in Denver that was also working with some of the football players at that time. And I learned a lot from him, and he was able to land me a sweet deal. So big props to that, because I don't know if I would have been able to negotiate what he negotiated for me. And at that time, it was very cool because there was a lot of magazines, right? And then you add photo incentive that was added to your package. It's difficult now, it's more difficult, I think, like that, because like a picture on Instagram and all of that on the digital, it's different. Back then it was like there was a lot of publication. People were putting a lot of money in the magazine, so then it's like that was a big deal to land the cover of a magazine. It still is, because now there's less publication. But like, I was lucky to be in that era, and then also have a team manager like Blotto, who was amazing, because he would see all of the magazines from the world, cut out each pages that you had a photo in, put it into a FedEx envelope, and send it there with a note, invoice your incentive.
Thanks, Dad.
So it was like, thanks, Blotto.
Blotto's the GOAT. Shout out to Blotto.
Yeah.
I love Blotto. He's one of my favorite humans. I'm not even going to say photographer. Yes, everyone knows he's an incredible photographer, but
I miss that guy. I haven't seen him in years, and like we communicate once in a while, but I need to like make the trek to Vermont or hook up somewhere with him, like go to one of his art show or something, because we spend a lot of time in the mountains and on trips, on days off, and just like, yeah, he's been a good friend, and I miss him for sure.
Yeah, I got to spend a couple days with him on a knife ridge in Alaska, judging natural selection, and he was beside me as the photographer, and I've known him for a long time, and I've always been a huge fan, from his footage to his photography to who he surrounds himself with, and the whole way he navigates life to me is just like inspiring. He's just an artistic individual, and I just fuck with what he's doing. And yeah, we just hung out 2 days on a fucking knife ridge in Alaska and shot the shit, and I got to know him pretty well, and I was like, this guy's incredible. It also speaks to what the mountains can do for a friendship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're out there and there's not much to do, and you got 3 hours to kill before the event starts or whatever, and you can't really walk anywhere because there's cliffs all around you. So you're just hanging out with Blotto and Chad Otterstrom and another guy named Connor and a few other people, and you're just like, oh, there's just 5 of us on this ridge. Do it for 2 days, and you actually get to know people. It's not so surface level. People open up about life. Blotto gave me some incredible relationship advice, and
Nice.
The mountains are a special place for forming incredible friendships.
Yeah, and Blotto's, he's been like 1999, that super park. Blotto started to work for Burton that trip, and he picked me up at the airport. That was his first assignment: go shoot pipe with David. And that was the first time. That was the beginning of a relationship. We shot pipe at the bottom of Mammoth before the event started the next day, And ever since, like, he's been photographer, but team manager and friend, and I think he's done that for so many years now. Like, it's going on 25 years. He's of service, man. He's there for the people. That's what I feel like. He wants to, to me, it seems like, of course, he wants to push his own ability to take the best pictures, but he's capturing it so that he's helping that rider. He's helping the brand he's with. He seems very selfless in that sense. Like, it's like, to spend the time to send every single rider all their pictures, that's not on his assignment. They don't want him doing that, but he was doing that, right? Not just the pictures he took, everyone's, and that's just one example. Or we'll show up to a photo shoot, and then, there'll be a little goodie package on our pillow because he was there a day early to make sure everything was taken care of. And we'll show up for a photo shoot, and everything we need is in the fridge and on our pillows, and everything that he knows we like or need or want, it's there. So we don't have to go look for it. It's right there on our pillow. All right, thanks, Bloods. It's like those details of like wanting to take care of people. Like, I think that's what made this guy special. And like that level of support helps riders like go there too.
to give without expectation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To bring it full circle there. Favorite part you've ever filmed?
I think it's probably one of those two we were talking about, like the Chalk Smack or Back in Black. Those 2 years, those 2 seasons were absolutely fun, epic, you know. Lots of good travels, and I would say that.
Where did you feel most at home? You filmed with Kingpin, Mackdawg, Absinthe, Burton. Which crew, which family? Like you were saying earlier about a relationship with a filmer, how important that is for a rider when you're throwing snowballs off, the trust. If I get hurt, are you going to help get me out of here? Which crew did you feel most at home with?
I think with Brad Kramer. And Brad started with Kingpin, and then he moved to Mackdawg. So I'd say both. Like when the time was to film, when Brad was like filming and editing the film, I felt like we were good friends and he had my back. And I would say that was with them. Although like anytime I was on a trip with Justin Astanek, also felt very, very part of the crew, and it was always amazing. Like I did a Japan trip with him that was super fun, and then the times I spent in Alaska with Justin were just like memorable. Like he's the man to be out there with, and then you feel like you're trusting being there, sending it, because he's been there so many times. His communication with the pilot, so rescue, whatever, if something goes down, you know he's got you, and he's capturing the whole thing, and he's there, and he's not going to miss it. So you're like, I'm doing it. So yeah, I'd say between those 2 guys, like Brad Kramer, whenever I could be with him, and then Justin Astanek.
Yeah, both absolute legends. Unink. Couldn't do a DCP episode without touching on the Unink crew. Maybe in a couple short sentences, touch on each one of the riders.
Okay, Jeff Anderson, the original inspiration, left us too early. Miss that guy. Timeless style on rails and just skate style, and amazing human. Gigi Roof, explosive, like stylish, funny. His sense of humor is just like, to me, translate into all of his doing. Like I can feel his sense of humor watching him snowboard, even though there's no joke. This snowboarding is no joke, but it's like, you know, maybe because I know him, really love that guy. And Rahman, the Marquis, is just like explosive, like aggressive snowboarding, just like balls to the wall, just like like a ball of energy, like and also on the other end is like got really had his shit together, like when it came down to like, you know, business wise, like wanting to do things like Swiss way, like okay, it's like organized. I learned a lot through him. JP Solberg, to me, like dear friend, and like very, very sweet and stylish, and always loved to hang out around him. Great conversationalist and deep guy, deep love, and like fucking good at snowboarding, you know. I think out of all the guy, it was the guy I liked the style better. Very like wide stance and like super squared and poking the grab, holding it, you know, like almost like never arm out of place, you know, and landing deep and just like him and his brother, even Stian, had like similar style. Like I actually like got a funny story for that. It's like we're in Amsterdam and Jezza is playing in Oslo, the Wu-Tang, and Trevor's there, and Mikey Rance is there, and Trevor's dating Santi, and her best friend's the manager, so they invite us to go see the concert and go hang out with the crew first. And JP is like meant to go on this sunset shoot on those double line jump, and he's just like, I want to go to Wu-Tang. And we're like, come, you just come. He's like, I can't. Renee's up there, Bloodo's like, everybody's like, I'm filming for Absinthe, my part. I was like, dude, send your brother. You guys have the same style. And he's like, yeah. And he did. Stian went up there. I think they ended up knowing it wasn't JP, but I think at first they didn't really, because he just used his board and his outfit. And he was just same style, right? Sending it. Meanwhile, JP is with us at the Wu concert in Oslo. So, yeah.
There's an iconic image of Mikey Rents with them in that backstage. Probably of all you guys.
That was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he filmed the whole thing. But then he told me that he got home and his roommate recorded over everything. Something like that, like 8 Mile or something. Like they took the tape and did something.
Trout or Johnny Lyle just fucked everything up.
Something, because it was crazy. It was like, Jezza's like, all right, big props to the snowboarders. Trevor Andrew. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Like, they started the show giving props to the snowboarders who were backstage with him, and Trevor is like, big prop, Trevor. Everybody's like, who's Trevor? You know? I was like, wow. It was so rad. Yeah, good times. But yeah, Unnamed Crew was very, very awesome. And it originated like from that session with the camo outfit that year. We were all in Amsterdam brainstorming about it after that session, and Jeff Anderson's like was the most creative in there. It's like kind of like the leading. I was like, okay, we're gonna all pick artists, we're gonna do our own thing, it's gonna be very different, we're not gonna listen to nobody, we're not gonna like have like an art director tell us what to do. It's like everybody picks their shit, like we're doing it our own way in our own term. And they're like, okay. I was like, and we're not going to oversell this shit. Like, it's only the core store. Like, he had it all, like...
mapped out.
Yeah, and we're like, we're in. Hell yeah. Let's do this, you know?
Listening to the Billy Anderson episode on the bomb hole, you could just see how much Billy put an emphasis on how much Jeff cared about snowboarding and what snowboarding looked like, felt like, respecting the values in our culture and stuff like that, and keeping that moving forward as like the North Star, the compass for where snowboarding should head towards. I think a lot of people could take notes from Jeff Anderson's vibe towards snowboarding.
Yeah, and it's, yeah, exactly. And so, you know, everybody's got a life's purpose. And if by losing him early like that, it's a tragedy. And I think it served its purpose. Like, in some way, it's a weird one to say, but it's like, for me, I think one of his purpose was like he was here to exactly do what that, to like say, yo, this is snowboarding, I am snowboarding, it's genuine and it's love and it's passion, and it's like, let's go, don't let other people tell you otherwise. That's just what snowboarding is. Like, you're creative, you know. It's like, that was what Jeff's all about. And I feel like that's something that he left to the community of snowboarding.
How big of a loss was Jeff when he passed for you?
He was a good friend, and it sucked. I remember still, like, I was renting out a place in Whistler in like right behind the booth there in that neighborhood, and Bloodo called, and he's like, yo, Jeff passed away last night in Japan. And like, I was like, what? That was like the first time I lost somebody close, you know, in my snowboarding friends and like true snowboarding, and it really hit me pretty bad. I was really sad. I didn't really know how to deal with that, but it was, you know, it is just, so I was grieving. And obviously, like, I knew that his brother and I knew his parents, and I knew that, well, I knew his mom a little bit from traveling, and I knew they were grieving hard. So right away, I was just like thinking of them, and you know, it was a hard one for the community of snowboarding, I think, altogether. And we just had started that project with him, as well. And so, yeah, so it became kind of like a little bit of like, or let's keep doing this, like our inspiration to really take Unning to the next level, because it was originated by Jeff, and he was so in touch with what we all wanted to do, and we're like, okay, well, we can't let him down, now we got to do this. So it was, I was grieving, I was sad, and it then motivated me, but it was just like Jeff always just lived fully with his full love, and it was like full passion. So that's what I gotta live.
I had a similar person pass away. Not that he was a pro, but a local guy. His name was Fred. And when he passed away, he was like, he exemplified to me who somebody would be if they absolutely loved snowboarding and expect nothing in return. To bring it full circle again. Because he wasn't a pro. He just loved snowboarding, and he didn't want anything else from it other than for his board to slide down the hill. And when he passed, our whole local community was like, fuck, like that guy was like what snowboarding means, like to the core.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that Jeff clearly was that example to all of you guys. I mean, you look at Video Gangs, Bjorn's intro dedicated to Jeff. Every single magazine the next couple years was dedicated to Jeff. The ads from Burton, you're like, holy fuck, like this guy had an impact on this community. Yeah. We got a poster of him hanging out in here. Just like, I never met the guy, but like I connect with him because I know he loves snowboarding as much as I love snowboarding.
Yeah, I have the same poster in my office too. And I mean, it's exactly. And that's really what it's all about. Like, truly, like, I mean, you're that as well, Jody. Like, I can see that in you. Like, you love snowboarding. Like, you're doing that for the love. And that's what it really is all about, That's when, at the end of the day, that's why we're doing that. Like, it's fun. We're lucky. We're in like this lifestyle of playing in snow, in nature, on our wooden plank, grabbing and tweaking and spinning and landing, and just, it's fun. And we're like 44 years old. I don't know how old you are, but like I'm 44 and I'm still like, I just want to do this. And now I'm bringing my kids into it and just planning snowboard trips and like, I'm going to take those kids backcountry snowboarding this year. I'm taking them off these jumps and I'm going to send them upside down in POW. And I'm just like, let's go. Just because I know the feeling, what it feels like, and they're down. So I don't want to push them too hard, but they give them that opportunity to ride POW. It's like we had a trip to Japan last season where it was like transformational for a family unit to ride deep POW for like 7 days straight. And it was just like, I could feel it, and they're smiling. It was just like, I love this. It was not like, let's go. It was more like, are we going again? Let's go. Like the last day, I remember my son is like, damn, they're closed. It's true. It's not even 3 yet. It's 2:59. And they closed it? Dad, come on, tell them something. I'm like,
yes.
I was like, we rode all day. We're good. There's tomorrow. It's like, no, but I want to go back up. I'm like, all right, well, we can't. And that was, just that stuff. I'm like,
he's like, why are you laughing and smiling? You're like, I know that it's a bummer that the lift is closed, but it's absolutely beautiful how much you love snowboarding.
Yeah. And now it's like, I see the same in him, like in soccer. He's like so passionate about soccer. And it just, again, like, there's a lot of full circle happening here, but like Yussi's son is now just played his first game for Finland. He's like playing like, first division or I don't know, like semi-pro, maybe it's pro, I don't know, like in a soccer team for Finland. And I showed that to Rave the other day. I was like, you see, like, I used to snowboard with that guy. He was my best partner his son just like gave it all that he's got, and it's possible. Like he's doing what he loves. My son's like, I'm gonna get scholarship. I'm gonna go play college soccer. I'm like, all right, well, keep that fire, you know, like I'll support you. And it's like, so I think that perspective now, it's not like, oh, people he sees on TV and he doesn't know. Now it's like, what do you mean? You know a guy who's now, you grew up snowboarding with him and now his son's doing that? I'm doing that, you know? So like, it's all there. Coming back from here, it's like, you know, so I like that. Side note.
No, I really like where you took that. When you were younger, did you have kids at the time when you got let go by Burton?
Yeah, my daughter, she was born in 2006, and so she would have been 2 years old when I was let go of Burton and started YES.
So, like, what does that look like when you're riding for Burton? You're one of the biggest pros in the world. You get let go. You have a 2-year-old daughter. Did you get, like, bummed out on snowboarding or the industry or anything like that? Like, what did that kind of feel like at the time?
I never got bummed on snowboarding, but it was a transition time because I became a dad, and I had an amazing partner, and my wife Megan, the mom of our children, was also a pro snowboarder, and she sacrificed her career to raise our daughter while she wanted me to keep going. She knew that I needed that in my life to be happy. I knew she needed that as well, but as a mom, you know, like the bond with her baby girl was like even stronger because, like, you know, she's like the mom, right? For me as well, obviously, it's like my firstborn child and my secondborn child. It's like it's undescribable, the unconditional love that it brings you, and at the same time, I felt almost like a responsibility to keep going because, like, I was in the prime of my snowboarding and we were starting YES, and well, it was not yet. I was like still like with Burton doing the stuff, and I was like, no, thank you, you know, like thank you for not allowing me, but like supporting me in doing that. There was a little bit of a change where I was like, okay, well, I have a daughter at home and I want to be there for her. But it's weird because I always knew that I was protected, even though, like, you know, if my mindset would have gone like, oh, fuck, I don't want to kill myself, maybe I'll back off. You know, it was more like, I, to the core, want to do that and keep progressing into snowboarding. And there's a lot I haven't done yet where I want to take it. And I want to be a dad that's going to be following his passion to the fullest. And that's what I want to show my kids. Follow your passion. Follow your dream to the fullest extent that you can take it. And that's always was my mindset, and I was supported by my wife doing that. And so, like, that was my approach. And yes, I do have some regrets in some of the decisions I took, being away so much, but it was all part of the journey. I feel like looking back now, yeah, like there's moments where I'm very grateful for my wife that she had that time with our kids, like that day to day always. And I was gone for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time in Alaska, waiting for a window to like, okay, I'm not coming home yet. It was shitty for 2 weeks and now it's going blue. Like, well, you're supposed to get home. I was like, I know, but like I've waited all that time. I'm staying. You know, it's like those decisions to like pursue my dream sometimes overshadowed what I wanted to be as a dad. But at the same time, it was showing, that's what it was like, okay, I'm dedicated to my dream and my passion. And I was supported through that. And I think now, like, as the kids grew up and then I'm spending more time with them, in recent years when we moved to Costa Rica in 2020, that was exactly why I was like, I want to be full time with them. Like, I want to keep snowboarding and doing the stuff, but I don't want to be away from them like that much. Like, it goes fast. Now my daughter's 18 and she's going to uni next year, and now she's leaving to California next month for a month, and I'm like, okay, well, now she's in and out like of my house, like, oh, bye, I'm going there, like, she's so amazing, but I miss her, you know. And then my son now is like 13, so I'm like, I want to spend as much time as I can with him. So his passion is soccer, so I'm a soccer dad now. I'm like doing the thing, and he loves snowboarding. Yes, so they both love snowboarding and surfing. So there's that, and we can connect with that. But I'm starting to play soccer now too. But yeah, like it changed some, obviously, and at that time as well too, I think the sponsor didn't really get that you could do both. I don't want to say like I got cut because I was a dad, but maybe they saw at the end of my contract, well, maybe he's going to slow down because he's a dad. I don't know if they said that. I'm just sometimes thinking that. But then it led to starting YES, which was the next journey. And I'm so grateful for that. All the time with Burton, the cut, the opportunity with Raman and Nadeker and JP to start YES. I mean, there's no coincidence. Everything happens as it should in the same order that it, you know, I really believe in that. And so much learning. And I hope that all of that translate as a learning experience for my kids too. Seeing all that unfold and seeing me get around to like doing that, pursuing that, now being really dedicated to them. And their passion and what they want to do. So, and big props to Megan for always supporting me and always being there for me and for our family, for my kids, for our kids. And she's just amazing.
One thing that everybody should realize in a relationship is there's this old fucking saying that you gotta fucking compromise every once in a while, and that's true for both sides. Like, sometimes I feel like you need to do it for your partner. Sometimes they have to do it for you, but there's not an exact timeline, or it's not exactly 50-50 at all times. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I need to compromise more for her for an extended period of time. And at one point you're kind of like, fuck, I've been compromising a lot for them lately. But if you love them, you put that aside because you're not looking for a return on that. You're just doing it because it's for your partner. And eventually it comes full circle if they really love you, is that at one point you need them to compromise. And then when they show up for you, just like you did for them, whew, magic. Mm-hmm. And that's when you know you got to keep her. And then you're like, yo, you want to get married?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's fucking amazing. Because you said one of your favorite video parts would have been Back in Black, Kingpin. Absolutely amazing video part. Chalk Smack, amazing video part. But my favorite video part of you ever is 2010, before YES made It's a Movie. There was a part that YES put out of you. It's a hybrid of some Absinthe footage, and then YES just put out a part, and it's just David YES part, and I think it's the best DCP part. There's some lines in there that are so overlooked. I think it's one of the best video parts in the backcountry, and I would argue that it's maybe the most overlooked backcountry video part in snowboarding. I rewatched it again. I remember when it came out. My good friend Mikey Pedersen showed me it at the time. Shout outs Mikey Pedersen. He's the man.
Yes man. He was a yes man.
Oh, of course. He's just the border. Great dad. Lovely human. Fucking love you, Mike, if you listen to this. And I'll never forget. I remember watching that part and being like, that's what the back. And it is exactly what you were saying. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise when your filmer was like, yo, I don't really want to film you hit these jumps anymore. Like, stop stacking blocks. Because that 2010 video part, there's like little to no jump building. It's all free riding, and you're incorporating freestyle in it, and it is ripping snowboarding. And man, are you good at spotting out when you can crank out a fast heel side turn on a spine wall before it closes out. Holy fuck, like last minute heel side hack, and anyone who rides backcountry terrain kind of knows what I mean. Like, he's coming into the last like little bit of spine wall, and it's like he heel side hacks so hard, and if you went on 5 more feet, you would have like flown off a cliff. But then you like suck it back like a wave. It's like your total surf mode, and that's my favorite David part. I think it's incredible, and I think that your wife clearly, she allowed you to move from a freestyle jumper to Alaskan big mountain rider, and I think that video part encapsulates 25 years of riding experience into one video part. Like, that's years of hard work and dedication to come into that. From the riding perspective, from landing good conditions so you could even do that, to the cinematography, to like, it all came together. And I hope everybody takes the time to rewatch that part because it's fucking amazing. And yes, it'll be on the YouTube channel over this bit.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Absinthe. Like that was Justin Ostanek.
Now here, I believe, is the Absinthe part.
Yeah, and then I filmed with Paul Watt, which is a dear friend and also one of the guys that I felt most comfortable shredding with, and he's from the Sea to Sky here, Squamish, and I went biking with him yesterday. He's a very good friend. We had some great moments together, from the balance to those Absinthe films and that part. And he made the Yes, It's a Movie. Yes, It's a Movie too. Yes, Missions, all of that. So Paul Watt, big props to Paul Watt as well.
Hell yeah, Paul. The part is super timeless. You got a huge method off this like step down, massive method. Pretty flat landing, stomps it. Front 3 to the next hit, stomps it. Pretty flat landing, but like the landing on it is bolts, and it's like a 40-foot cliff back to back. Just fucking sick, David. Way to go.
Thank you. Yeah, good times. Yeah, yeah, that was a good season for sure. And then it's just like you know what it is. It's like you're still thirsty, still hungry for more. You're like, oh, that was such a good season. What is next season gonna look like? I want to go back. And then I slow down in some way. Like, I'm more interested in less gaps and this and that. But like, obviously, like for me right now, like, I mean, there was like after that there was like the Yes movie series, and then I co-produced Balance with Paul, and I thought I was gonna be done after Balance. That was kind of like, I wanted to produce a film, skate, surf, and snow, but then it's like, oh well, I got an opportunity to go back out and then maybe do a little bit of this and then that, and then be invited here at that contest, and like, so it just kept on going because I love it.
Then Travis calls you. He's like, hey, do you want to go to Ultra Natural? And you're like, okay, I'll go to Ultra Natural.
Yeah,
I got 5th. Okay, I'm pretty good still. Like, I'll keep going. It just doesn't end. Was there any intention behind using the Pink Floyd song Another Brick in the Wall for that video part?
I love Pink Floyd. I grew up like, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, like those type of things, besides from like punk rock. I just didn't want to. I had a lot of video parts with punk rock, no effects and stuff. And so I felt like, I don't know. It was also Paul. Paul thought that would be fitting the way that he edited being on top of a mountain, and just the way the footage was going around, and then it started like, damn. I know that part because I watched it lately for some reason. It popped up and I was like, oh, I'll watch that again. I was like, oh yeah, that was fun. So I started cutting clips from it. But like, yeah, that was a fun year. But that song is just nice, and maybe subconsciously it is. You don't need no education. Just get out there and do it. Learn from your experiences.
I've heard, maybe this is rumor. You can let me know if this is all just hearsay, but I've heard you puke before you ride big Alaskan lines.
I have. I've learned to breathe better in recent years. I actually took some breath workshop, and I realized that's what was going on. I wasn't breathing properly. And yeah, even like before hitting jumps, like first try, then it will disappear. But it would be like, almost became a trademark. People have said, like, they'll know, they'll be across the valley, be like, David's about to drop. It's like coughing and puking. I think it was like, I don't know. Yeah, it was like a mix of like excitement meets fear, and like the inner battle of like overcoming that fear, but like not doing it with breath. And I think now looking back, like I know that if you breathe properly, deep breath, and like you can calm your nervous system down. It's just like back then, like I was just hamped and the nervous system was just taxed, and I was just like, go, and then it was like, rah, rah. And I was like, okay, I'm fine. I'm like, you sure? Like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Drop it in 5. And then I just puked. There's actually, I get this video footage of a GoPro. We never used it, but I'm puking on my board and I'm strapping in. I'm puking more, and I see the helicopter wrap around, and I see like Justin's ill clips, like, I'm ready to film, you better drop in. I was like, okay, drop in 5, 3, 2, and I go right as I just puke my guts out, and then I'm just riding this thing. It was so funny.
Wait, so that's how you know when to drop, is when you hear heel clicking
I don't
behind
hear it.
you?
You see it. So like back then, like was like when the helicopter, like before drone, they will be hanging from the door of the helicopter filming with 16 mil, and it's loud and they're ready to go. So they don't have the radio like, okay, you go, you're ready. So us was like, I'm ready, right? They do a pass with the heli, and they already know the way, the way they're going to go by. And then the second time around, it's just like dangling. You see their feet, and they go, ill click. And then it's like drop. It's like, that's the signal. They're rolling already. It was like, click, click, go. Because you're right. Like Justin, that was Justin's trick. It's like, you're exactly where he wants to be for you to start going, with the shot he's got in mind. So you got to go then. So a couple of times it's like, I'm still puking and he's passing on. It's like, fuck it, I got to go. So you go. And then you get so much in the moment that all this is gone. It's fine. But there was this one line I was just like, and I'm going, and there's this catcher's mitt at the bottom, this huge crevasse. And if you don't nail the line, you're done, right? And I'm puking at the top because I'm thinking about that. And so I'm going. Yeah, that was funny.
Is it the one where you have to like heel side turn to get in the gut, and you have to pull into the gut at the right time, and you bomb out of the gut? It's like an ender shot.
I think it was different. I don't remember the video shot of it, but I know it made a cover of Frequency magazine.
Damn, congrats.
And it was like there was that hole of ice, and I'm throwing a method or something, and anyways, it was like the end of the line, but like on top I'm like just not ready, but I had to go.
Any consistent thoughts that go through your head when you're on top of a line after puking?
No, I mean I don't do that anymore either. Like even like surfing, I was doing that before. Like when it was big, I was like about to paddle out, like now I know to breathe better. But like, so if it comes up, I'll know to breathe. Back then, it was no talking or anything to myself, but it was more like I knew it was a battle of, am I scared, or is it like, should I not be doing this? And most of the time was just like, fuck it, man, you got this. So maybe there was a little bit of a talk. It was like, you got this. Like, go. Like, you got this.
Have you ever pulled the plug, though?
Yeah.
And what does that look like if you get dropped off somewhere high and then they leave and then you're like, I don't want to do it? So they come back and pick you up? Like,
well, sometimes they can.
Sometimes they can't?
Sometimes they can't.
What do you do if they can't?
They towed you in there. There's no picking up. Then you have to take a different... Like, you ride down the not as committing line. Still gnarly. Or, worst, like it happened where me and Ville are on this ridge in Alaska, and I start going, and the whole entire mountain avalanched. Zipped all the way to him, and we're both almost being taken down. And then it's like he's across with his, like, filming. And then there's huge amount of snow, and it's just going down the valley, and then it's like putting the plug. You know, like, we're not doing this, but they're not gonna go pick us up because there's hanging fire above us, so they're not coming with the heli where we are. So now we have to ride down the debris all the way down to the valley on debris, hoping the rest of it don't pop. Then they pick us up at the bottom. So those moments that happened, and that was very sketch. But, you know, you got to pull the plug on that, and sometimes just how it goes. You got to get out of there.
Okay. That's wild. Was that the gnarliest avalanche incident that you had been a part of? That seems a whole mountain.
That was a bad one. That was pretty gnarly. There was a few. There was an incident at a Burton shoot in Argentina where I was on the scoping crew. So it was me and Marcus Eggy and Jeff Curtis, and we're in Las Lingas, Argentina, and it's pretty windy, and they closed the upper lift, and we're just out on a hike, hiking up the ridge where they just closed the lift because it's too windy, and not really thinking that they closed it for a reason. And so we're up there, and we're technically scoping for the entire Burton crew to roll up the next day, and there's going to be the catalog shoot, and then there's 3 skiers as well, and they all dropped into this couloir, and it's kind of on site for us. Like, we know it goes, but it's a dog leg, so we don't really see the exit. And they stay in the middle, the 3 of them, one after the other, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going. So it's like Jeff Curtis and this other guy. Eggy didn't come up. He's like, I'm not going up. It's sketchy. I'm like, we're gonna go check it. I go, and I turn, and my first turn, it broke 4 feet deep, the whole entire couloir. And then I'm like, shit. Okay, so I started gunning it, and I'm on like a custom 56 because they didn't have the board I usually ride a 60. That's the only board they had there before everybody rolled up. So I was on a smaller board. I tried to point it. Everything's just covering. I got launched off these cliffs. I don't know how big they are. I don't even know what's happening. And I ended up kind of landing on the back seat and riding out of it. And my backpack, my jacket, everything is gone.
It got ripped off?
Everything got ripped off. And
because you were inside of the Avi?
Yeah. And I somehow got out of it and just rode out. And that was probably the sketchiest moment because there was so much that could have happened. Like, there was so many rocks and cliffs and things and barrier possibility, and like, I had angels that day, and then I never took it for granted after that. And then that's when I was like, I need to learn more about all of that. Like, I made a mistake. They all stayed in the middle. I went in the wind-loaded pocket and slashed first turn. Now knowing that, I'll never do that. But I did because it looked good.
At the time. If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
Was that before? That was pre-kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And now the people like Pat and Jeff are getting people educated here. So we're moving into it right now. So take an avalanche course, everybody. I would say every other year you should take the course. Good refresher.
Yeah.
If you're riding in POW, even if you're just riding like peak chair on Whistler or whatever, if you're out in backcountry elements, you're going to feel pretty stupid if you're completely useless in a scenario. It feels a lot better when you know that you took 2 days out of your time so that you have skills that you can bring to the table to keep your crew and the extended family of snowboarding and skiing safe.
Yeah. There's nothing. I mean, that kind of knowledge and experience and training is, it's important, and you can't know too much. You can't train too much for that kind of stuff. And if that's what your passion is get out there. You want to keep you safe and your friends safe. And like you said, it's like you never know if you come upon somebody, and you need to perform CPR on them or dig them out of a tree well because you just in Cabra Pass, and it's like, whoa, shit, there's a little slide here, or somebody's in there. They need your help. You're there, you know? So it's all good. And I think as snowboarding mature, you know, like it's not all about adding a rotation to your spins, but it's about adding awareness to your snowboarding. And that's a huge awareness to know, have the skills to be out there in the backcountry, especially if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, we're playing the long game here, folks.
Yeah.
Pointers on riding, maybe lines. You got any pointers for people who are getting out there that want to do that a little bit more?
Riding big lines, it's about to pick like you. Well, first of all, you definitely like everything from far away looks different than from the top. You know, the perspective that you have from at the bottom will be totally different from when you're standing on top of a line. So picking your line carefully is important because first of all, the exposure of your line. Exposure meaning like if you're going to ride on top of a big cliff and that if you were to fall down, then there's no survival, that's to be considered. You want to also consider your exits. If something happens, like, oh, I can ride this, but then if something happens, I can go to the right. If there's too much exposure and you know, you have to go only one way, sometimes it can be very committing. And if something goes wrong, then it can be tragic. So, you know, picking your line properly. And often it's like now we got cell phones that you can take a picture and zoom into. That's important to really know where you're at and, you know, kind of like have some spots where you know, to know, okay, I'm going to go around this rock and I'm going to go here and this wind lip and that, you know, kind of knowing where you are is important. It used to be Polaroid and you can't zoom in on a Polaroid, so it's just a little bit more tricky.
I've heard. That's hilarious to me. On top of an AK first descent, waving around a Polaroid that you can barely see because you're taking a Polaroid on snow. It's like it's going to be blown out, overexposed.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, okay, there's those black rocks. Yeah, that didn't help me. Okay, drop.
And often it's like, too, everything's bigger, right? So you're like, oh, yeah, I can ride this and hit this. And then you get to the top and that boulder that you thought was your height is like 20 feet rock next to you and you're dropping. You're like, oh, shit, that means the cliff is 100 foot. Maybe I won't go down that way, you know? Especially like Alaska, like in the backcountry here in Whistler, or like places like Utah and places like that where you can snowmobile around, or like even like now splitboard up and check. It seems like you can have a better scope, but like in places where in Alaska where you get dropped off at the top and then you only had a view from across, that's when it's very important to like know exactly where you are. And then I'd say you don't want to stop halfway through either because surface stuff can happen and you just want to flow and keep flowing. And from what I learned, sometimes it's okay to pull the plug. And even if you're filming, like I actually learned that the hard way. I was filming 2 years ago and I'm starting to ride down this line. I think I know where I'm at. And then I realized that I'm not where I wanted to be. And so instead of stopping, because I'm being filmed, and just like, you know, fuck this shot and like I'm just gonna traverse and get back and then just ride, I try to pull it. So I get on my toes and I try to like, I'm gonna traverse and go hit this thing and it's gonna be cool. And then I just hit some ice and rocks and tumbled the entire mountain, broke my neck, and that was bad. But that was like all from like not knowing exactly where I was at and not stopping where I should have stopped.
Well, listen to your gut a little bit. Like, did your gut say, hey, stop? And you were like, fuck you?
I was too much in that film mode of like, you need to flow and not stop. But that's what I'm saying now. It's like, sometimes you are in there and it's almost like your ego's like, you don't want to fuck this one up. It's going to be cool. and then you're like, yeah, maybe subconsciously like, fuck it, keep going, you got this. But truly, it's like in free riding, it's okay to say no. It's okay to back off. If you have a bad feeling, don't do it. It's not worth it. Or if you come to a place and you thought you were somewhere, like, don't try to just flow it or just hit the cliff anyways, even if you think like, oh, it's way bigger than I thought, I'm going to still hit it. It's like, no. Like, if you can't stop and, just go back up the next time and do it again. Because sometimes when we're in the flow of things, we're like, okay, we've got this, but also I've learned that it's not always the best idea.
You know what they say here at Airtime? If you don't know, don't go. We've never said that before, but seriously, fucking, that's a good one. I've actually had to learn that the hard way. Was filming with Razman on this one face, and I tried to keep up with Chris, and he wrote a line, and then I wrote a line, and then I did stop, and I only stopped because I had my trucker mic on my backpack, and Razman was screaming at me, and I finally stopped in my line. I was like, "What the fuck are you screaming, dude? I'm riding line." He's like, "You're on the wrong fucking line, dude." I was like, "Oh my god!" I thought it was a small little entry, nothing too serious. Mm-hmm. But if I go left, there's like a 200-foot fucking cliff, and I went left, and I didn't know I went left. I thought I took the right.
So a good crew is also like good communication is huge in that setting. Having walkie-talkies, and often not buried in your jacket, but like on your, where you can access it while riding.
Yeah, I like the BCA setup with the backpack and the trucker
all the way. Yeah,
BCA is my vibe.
So for sure, like, so yeah, you just mentioned the other point was like team and communication. If you want to step into, you don't do that on your own. Like, you need friends.
We do have a question from another Patreon member. I got a bunch of Patreon texts about you because people are fucking, which gets me excited because if I have a bunch of Patreon texts about a certain guest, a guest of your caliber, that just shows that people fucking understand, and the people that are supporting the podcast get it. So thanks again to all the Patreon members. Spencer Craig, big shout outs to Spenny. He had quite the accident last year, and he is healing up, but hitting your head is never as fast as you want. Question. What was the toughest part of your recovery, and how did you deal with it?
Thanks, Spence. Yeah. I'm glad that you are recovering. I'm glad I was there to help.
Were you there for his accident?
I was.
Holy fuck.
Yes. Me and Tyler rolled up on Spencer, and then we had a big crew like after that to help. But yeah, we were first on the scene, woke him up and all that. Let's
get a slight context of his injury and then answer his question, just so people can know about.
Tyler, myself, Neil, and Spencer on just a riding day with snowmobiles, and so just like the usual day, get up there, brandy wine, finding the best snow and the best place to go at that time, and we just had put up the tracks. We had dropped off some snowmobiles at the top, and we were on our second lap, and then there was just this small little section where we could send two guys, and two guys will snowmobile down to then get everybody up to the sled pickup. And so I'm on the snowmobile with Neil, and Tyler and Spence are riding down together. And I believe that Spence just went over the bar once and hit a rock under the snow. So ended up fracturing his skull, and so I got the call like by Tyler. It's like, hey, Spence is out. I'm like, what? And then so we got on the snow. We're already on snowmobile. We just whoop right up to him, and he was still like sleeping, knocked out, and so we just like got him stabilized, and we get something to cover his wound. And then there was Dave, and there was Joel, and there was a few other guys, Justin, they were there, and everybody had puffy jackets and blankets and gear. And so we just like, Neil right away called a rescue, and And so we were just there, like, he needs to get out of here quick. So search and rescue, thank you. They made it like in 1 hour and 21 minutes, and he was out of there. And so teamwork, we got him out, and now he's been on the recovery. And I'm so proud of you, Spencer. You're doing it, and you'll be back. You're now golfing, and I know you're gonna be back snowboarding, and we're gonna go splitboarding, and we're gonna do it all. And so to answer your question, so the toughest part of the recovery, I think, was the beginning of it. It was to overcome the fear of possibly not being able to get back at what I love doing. And once I removed the fear, the recovery went on smoothly, I'd say. Although I learned patience through the process, because you can't come back too early. And for me, it was my neck. For you, it's the head, so even like be even more patient. But I'm here to say that all is possible, and you can always fully recover. And it's the mindset, as you know. So how did I do that? Was like, it was I talked to some people that helped me, coach me through a mindset of positivity and keeping gratitude. Kind of seeing the silver lining of the situation and digging deep in like why did that happen for me, as opposed to why did that happen to me. And it was like, there's always a reason. There's no coincidence of why things happen in life. I feel like this one was like for me, it was like a big wake up call of like, hey, get your shit together, like be more integral with your action and your thoughts. And it was just a reminder, like, hey, life is fragile, and you're not there to fuck around. You're here to like be the best version of you. So do it. So then I already knew by like, that's kind of like realization I got from friends and from mentors, and through some practices like, meditation and like listening to some like 432 megahertz frequency music all night long. And it was just all tricks that I was given, and that really helped me. It was just calming my nervous system and helped facilitate the healing. But really it was like in the mind, it was like mindset, like I know I can switch that around, and I know I can do this. Thanks to Dr. Joe Dispenza, to like the inspiration through that, through some podcasts that I watched and heard. And but really it was like to clean up just forgive myself too on some of the stuff that I have done over the years, and that now probably came back as a form of like big slap, like, you're not listening. So here you go. Now you're going to listen. And so realizing that, saying like, okay, I'm done. And I want to be better. I want to be the best version of myself. And therefore I'm going to do exactly what I've been loving to do. And I'm going to do it better this time around. So it was like one of those. And it was mindset. I'd say that's how I did it. It's like gratitude, patience, and self-love and forgiveness, and then working with the people I love, and just like rebuilding myself, and that's deep, but that's just it's just life, That was a big slap in the neck.
Yeah, I like where you took that. That's for sure. That was
I'll give you one more little thing that you may have seen on YouTube or on your books or whatever, but truly it's not so cliche, but like, you gotta love yourself to heal yourself. And so whatever that means to you, to heal yourself, you gotta love yourself, and to love yourself, you gotta heal yourself. Heal yourself to love yourself to heal yourself. It's like It's a big one, but yeah.
And aren't we all like most of us, we are fucking batshit crazy in our own heads towards ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, you fucking no good piece of shit, loser, fucking ugly. And you're like, what? That's like, dear Lord, what just came out of your mouth? Like, you're saying that to yourself? Like,
and also, like, it's, you know, it's kind of like people don't want to say that, like, especially dudes, like, oh, yeah, I love myself. It's not like ego. It's not like, oh, yeah, I'm cool. It's like more like love yourself, more like be good to yourself, like eat well, rest, you know, be careful of what you're consuming, whether it's like what you're drinking or what you're inhaling or what you're watching.
Oh, yeah. All right, moving along here quickly, because now we're not in a huge time crunch, folks, but we are. I was just speaking to somebody, one of your close friends who's worked with you for a long time. I asked him, do you have a question for your friend David? And he said, I do.
DCP, Mark here. We've been friends for many years. You helped mold my career by taking me along the ride with you on many different brands and ideas and chapters. So I owe my entire career to you and a few others. The question I have for you is not one that you think. I mean, we've been on lots of trips and there's lots of stories, but I wanted to know for you what it was like being stuck in Costa Rica over COVID and raising your children in a completely different environment, having them to go to school in Costa Rica and what that was like and the challenges that came with that. Thanks, buddy. I love you. You deserve this interview. Have a good one. Bye.
Yo, Mark. Thank you. Well, first of all, you did that. You did your career. You're talented and you're amazing. And you're a hard worker. And I'm happy that you that I could have helped in some way, but you did that. And yes, thank you. I really appreciate our friendship and all the times we've had together, conceptualizing, being creative, playing. Great question. Thank you for that. You know, I actually had planned to go to live in Costa Rica in 2020. My wife and I had planned that for like 5 years prior to that. So we had everything lined up. Our place was rented out here. We had tenant on a 1-year lease. We had the kids were enrolled in school over there. So we had it all lined up because I really felt like I wanted to take a little bit of step back from snowboarding at that time. And my wife and I and our kids just needed that extra connection. So we wanted to go somewhere where there was less distraction from, running a brand and doing all of this. And I was like, oh, well, now we can do it like remotely. And it was pre-COVID because I was like, I can just work remotely, because the type of work I was doing, I was like, okay, I can be on the internet and then I can just like go from here to go snowboarding for a month or whatever. And then about 6 weeks into our trip, kids are in school, everything's good, boom, the pandemic started. And that was a little scary at first because nobody knew what was going to happen or what was going on. But I know like our government was like, go home, we're shutting down the borders. And we're like, we have nowhere to go. We rented our house. Like, we're here. We're not leaving. Like, we've planned that for so many years and we're doing it. We're staying. So we trusted that all was going to be good. And the schools shut down. The beaches shut down. We couldn't even go on the beach or surfing or anything for the first, 2 months. And then it became online schools, which was hard for the kids. But then we found a school that will take them in person or take my son in person with 5 other students, and they will work with like like a program where, paces where you can just advance and then have the help from your teacher and do some at home. And so like, it was different. It was a lot of it was learning Spanish, but it was also like an international school. So they had French, English, and Spanish. So I think the experience there was great. Throughout that whole time, though, I felt very fortunate and grateful and lucky that we had picked that area because it's warm and it was outside. And for the most part, people were very, people were wearing masks and things, and there was a lot of restrictions. But at the same time, there was a big community of open-minded people where we are outside most of the time, and we were allowed and able to go, as it evaluated, like go outside, get on the beach, walk your dog, do all this, and then the beach reopened, and then we felt like safe and we were good to be there. And truly was a really big bonding experience between my family and I. It was pretty incredible timing, I'd say. I don't think there was anywhere I would have rather be during that time. At that time my daughter was like 14 going on to 15 and 16, so that was like those precious teen years where I felt like we were the right place for that, to like bond with her, and like I felt very good about that. And my son developed his passion for soccer there because soccer is the national sport and everybody eats, breathes that. And we got a soccer field next to our place there. And so that was cool. And we got a lot of time in the ocean and in nature. And then I got to, make new friends and good friends that are now going to be lifetime friends. So, yeah. Mark, to your questions, it was like there was some challenges just because I guess we were away from, and we ended up like staying there 3 years instead of 1 because we're like, first year wasn't what we wanted our kids to experience. Second year, we're like, well, we might as well stay. And our tenant didn't have a place to go with her single mom, 2 daughters. We're like, let's just give her the house for another year. And then after that, it was like, well, we love it here. Why don't we just stay? And then at some point it was like we gave the choice to my daughter. It was like, so do you want to go back or do you want to stay? It's like, she's like, what do you mean? You're gonna have to take that decision for our family and we're gonna respect it, whatever it is. It's like, I'd like to go back to finish to do high school, like 11th, 12th grade with the people I grew up with. And we're like, okay, done. We're doing that. We're going to take the steps for that. It's like, really? Like, yeah, that's what you want, right? And then she was unsure, was like, yeah, that's what I want. And that felt good. So I would say, Mark, is like, maybe the challenge was like to decide to come back. But also it was a big thing of that we were able to give that choice to our daughter and then go along with it. And we're very happy that we came back for her to finish high school here. And now we decided to like go back and forth, which is very lucky for us, and give the experience of like the North American living here, like Canadian Squamish living is not bad at all. It's super awesome. And then they got the experience in Costa Rica that we wanted to give them, and that I think they got a lot of it out of it. It's like small town, super small town vibe, learning a lot about themselves and building confidence through the surf and through being exposed in the element and like all the wildlife that's around and bugs and the rawness of the jungle. You know, jungle is powerful and it's nothing to mess with. And so COVID was a challenge. We all got it once or twice. And at the same time, for us, it was not too crazy because we were able to be surrounded with people that that just wanted connection versus isolation, and we needed that, and I'm very grateful for that community there for that.
Yeah. I mean, as you get older, you definitely have a finite supply of time that you get on this earth with your parents. Sometimes people's parents get taken relatively young, but there's one thing for sure. As you get older, 18, 20, 25, I see my parents a couple times a year. And that's kind of the standard if you live far away or you don't live near them.
Mm-hmm.
So that added time that you got with your son and daughter in the jungle to bond with them on a deeper level, a year, 300 and something days, you know what I mean? Like, you might get that now that she's 18 and about to start running out of the house. You know, you might get that over the course of your life now. Like, not saying that your family's unique, you know, maybe she'll live with you for whatever. Who knows what's in store. But that is definitely something to not take for granted, because, you know, the majority of life, you know, your kid is as an adult. You know, 0 to 18 is like a special time. You know them as a baby, a teenager, a child, like this person who's absorbing all these new things. You see them developing, and then when they're 18, they're an adult, and you'll know them from 18 to 70 to the end of it. Well, if you make it to 90, but like the majority of your life, you will know your child as an adult.
Keep them in your bed as long as you can. Just cuddle, cuddle, cuddle. Just be there, because it goes fast. And recently somebody I love dearly shared with us like this new analogy that I've taken, and I want to share because like you said, now my daughter's 18. She's about to go on some trips, and this, you know, she'll travel. She's got that thirst, and so people say, you know, usually they say you become an empty nesters, you know, but the new saying that I like to go with is like, we are more like eagle launchers. Both Megan and I are like, I think we taught her how to fly well, hopefully, you know. So, you know, then she's got to get out there and fly. So that's just how it goes.
And for that, here's a spa pass you can grab. Scandinave bath pass.
Oh, what?
And you can grab a pair of those Skullcandy headphones.
Woo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Give them to your daughter for traveling, or you can pump them up.
Amazing.
Thanks for supporting the show, Skullcandy and the Scandinave Spa. You guys are amazing. And to all of our other sponsors, you guys are the best. We got 10 bullet point questions here. You can just one word answer them so you can get out of here and pick up your son.
Thanks, Jody.
All right, who has the best style, currently and back in the day?
Nicholas Mueller. I mean, I think he's timeless. That is my pick.
Nice. Career highlight.
Riding Alaska with Yussi, Josh Dirksen, when we ended up doing and Adam Moran and Brad Kramer, and we did over 60 free laps and filmed 5 lines.
Sounds hell yeah. Favorite place you've ever traveled?
I've been very lucky to go many places, but I think like the southern Mantaways in Indonesia was very memorable, and one of the coolest.
One thing about snowboarding we did better back in the day.
Keep our spins under 1080s.
Most underrated rider.
Gaetan Chenu.
And did stand and deliver.
Yep.
What keeps you up at night?
I sleep good these days. The sound of the pumping surf.
Good life. Fuck yeah. Favorite steel boarder?
Scotty Whitlake count, even though he was riding a lot of wood?
Hell yeah, he counts. He's the best.
I think recently, though, Pat Fava.
Oh, yeah. Good call. Yeah, he's super sick. I think we've only seen the tip of the iceberg for that kid.
And Louis. I'd say Louis is one of my all-time too, and great human.
Yeah.
fellow 418er.
One area of your life you'd like to work on?
Reactivity.
Nice. To not like respond to things, like digest, look at it, analyze it, and realize why you're having the action in the first place.
Yeah, like not responding right away to a text message or an email
Oh, that's cool.
and thinking that one through first. Yeah.
Worst and best snowmobiler.
The worst, I don't know. Like, I mean, a lot of them nowadays, like thinking that like the new sleds are just gonna get you everywhere, and they're just like eye mark above you, and they just don't care. Best snowmobiler, I don't know, maybe Kel Stevens, all like jacket open, rolling up with a bunch of Tupperwares, and just like, where is it? Like, you know, just wheeling up stuff, and like, here it is.
Good pick. Who is the GOAT, the greatest of all time, to DCP?
I would say Terry Hawkinson.
David, thank you for coming on the show. I know you have to get to your son right now, but I appreciate your patience. I'm a huge fan of your snowboarding. Big fan of you as a person. Thank you for setting aside some time for coming on the show, sharing some stories. There's a collection of your DVDs and VHSs behind us, just a few that I have. We got some Burton videos. We got Artificial. We got Happy Hour, Gong Show, From With Love, Back in Black, Destroyer, and about 15 to 20 other video parts that are missing from that. And we thank you for all of your hard work and dedication to this fucking culture and this community of ours. And we love you. And thank you for ripping and inspiring us all.
Thanks, Jody, for having me here and Airtime podcast. And thanks to you guys all for checking this out and supporting the community and snowboarding and all the sponsors that make this happen, you know, telling stories, and everybody that supports anybody with a passion in the mountains, pushing and just being there in the moment. And thank you so much, snowboarding. And the source. Big up to Mark and Ash.
Yeah, Mark, Ash. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. You got any thank yous, final remarks?
Well, big thanks to my family, and thank you to my partners at YES Snowboards and the whole Nidaker family to making it happen these days, and David Pitchy, all that crew, and everybody that's ever supported me through my the lifestyle of snowboarding, surfing, skateboarding, and that keeps supporting me. Like, I'm amazed by it, because yeah, thank you so much for all of that. And I'd like to also like thank my kids for all their teaching and their love, and my dog for teaching me unconditional love.
Shout outs to your kids and your lady and your dog.
Thank Megan.
And your Switchback 5s. Thank you.
Thanks to all the man boys for the inspiration in recent last 10 years. You guys are keeping me wanting to go back in the backcountry here in Whistler and watching you. And hopefully I run into one of you guys and I'm like, oh shit, there's the man boys.
Come filming anytime, dude.
Thank you.
Anytime. All right. Peace. Take care.
Thanks.